Chapter 292. Young Madam, young master is talking to you. He wants you to learn slowly. Don't be anxious. Han family's courtyard. After Xiao Shi finished translating the code, she ran to the side and said to Han Yushi, who was reading the telegraph machine manual, Xiao Shi, I haven't married him yet. Don't call him that. Although Han Yushi was happy in her heart, she still looked embarrassed. Hee, Sister Yushi will be Lan Er's sister-in-law in a few days. It's okay to call him that now. Lan Er followed behind Xiao Shi and giggled. Lan Er, you're talking nonsense too. I'm not. Xiao Shi, can you help me send a telegram? I want to talk to brother too. It was only today that Lan Er found out that Li Zixuan had come up with such a fun thing recently. The magic of the telegraph had already surpassed her understanding of this world. The little girl was now very fond of this efficient and fast method of communication. She saw Xiao Shi's operation just now, but she did not learn it. That was why she said that. Okay, what do you want to say to young master? Xiao Shi will help you send it. Xiao Shi smiled faintly. Let's talk about it over there. Lan Er pulled Xiao Shi back to the telegraph machine and started chatting with Li Zixuan. On the other side, Li Zixuan waited for a long time, but there was no telegram. He could not help but think, could it be that the battery ran out of power? That shouldn't be the case. He had only sent and received 2 telegrams. At this moment, the telegraph machine finally rang again. Li Zixuan was energized and started recording the telegram. This time, the telegram was shorter. Li Zixuan translated it quickly after he finished writing. However, when he saw the translation result, he was speechless. Guess who I am? Was there need to guess? Other than the mischievous Lan Er, who else would speak to him in such a tone? He suddenly had a thought and replied mischievously, isn't this the silly girl from Blacksmith Wang's family? How did you know how to use the telegraph machine? Han family's courtyard, Han Yushi's room. Xiao Shi looked at the telegram she just received and couldn't help but laugh. Xiao Shi, what did my brother say? Did you guess it was me? Lan Er was not as tall as Xiao Shi. She tiptoed and looked up, but she could not see the contents of the note in Xiao Shi's hand. She could only ask anxiously, Miss, you should see for yourself. Xiao Shi held back her laughter and handed the translated telegram to Lan Er. Lan Er couldn't wait to take a look. A moment later, her smiling face turned red with anger. Smelly brother. He must have done it on purpose. Lan Er stomped her feet, crumpled the paper ball in her hand into a ball, and threw it out angrily. Xiao Shi, help me send another telegram to my brother. Yes, miss. Beep, 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 beep. Li Zixuan didn't wait for long before the telegraph rang again. Lan Er, bah. Smelly brother, you're the silly girl? This little girl? Li Zixuan smiled and shook his head. He suddenly felt that chatting like this was quite interesting. Oh, so it's Lan. Lan Er, you know how to use the telegraph so quickly? Li Zixuan replied with a sudden realization. Lan Er, smelly brother, you're still trying to lie to me. You obviously did it on purpose just now. Also, Xiao Shi is helping me send another telegram. Lan Er still doesn't know how to use this thing. Li Zixuan, Lan Er, brother, Lan Er also wants a telegraph to be placed in the room. Li Zixuan, why do you want a telegraph for? Who are you sending it to? Li Zixuan asked curiously. Lan Er, for brother. Lan Er realized that using this thing to talk is very interesting. Li Zixuan, he was speechless. The backyard where Lan Er lived was only a few hundred meters away from his west courtyard. Why would she need a telegraph? In the afternoon, Lan Er, Xiao Shi, and the rest finally returned. After witnessing the magical power of the telegraph at the Han residence, Lan Er came back and found Li Zixuan. She cried and begged for a telegraph. Li Zixuan was helpless. He really didn't have the time and energy to build another telegraph. He would be returning to the Imperial College tomorrow. Now that he thought about it, the position of Imperial College was really a kind of restraint. Li Zixuan planned to find an opportunity in the future to resign with Li Er and return to their hometown. He only wanted to keep his title of nobility. After promising countless benefits, Li Zixuan finally got rid of Lan Er, this annoying little tail. He called Xiao Shi and asked, How's Yushi's learning of the telegraph? Xiaoxi replied, well, young madam already knows how to use it, but she's not very familiar with it yet. She said that she'll contact you when she's familiar with it. Young master, don't be anxious. Ahem, I'm not anxious, I'm not anxious. Li Zixuan touched his nose awkwardly and said. At night, Li Zixuan returned to his room early after dinner and waited for Han Yushi to send message. At this time, he realized that there was a very obvious flaw in the telegraph. That was that it could not record the received code by itself. It needed someone to be by its side 24 hours a day. Otherwise, he would not even know if he missed the telegram. In fact, the early wired telegraph had a device that automatically recorded the code. It mainly used the electromagnet inside the transceiver to drive the pin on the iron plate to make a mark on the paper tape. If it was a short time, it would be a dot. If it was a long time, it would be a line. Li Zixuan could not help but have an idea. Should he add such an automatic code recording device to his own wireless telegraph? However, this way, the telegraph would be very power-hungry. Why hasn't Yushi sent a telegram yet? Could it be that she has to be very familiar with it before she sends it? Does she have to be so professional? Li Zixuan let his imagination run wild for a while. Then, he looked at the time and could not help but mutter to himself. Beep, beep, beep. Just as he was getting a little impatient from waiting, the telegraph finally rang. In fact, Li Zixuan's guess was right. Han Yushi had been familiarizing herself with the operation of the telegraph over and over again. She had translated what she might say next into the code. Only then did she send the first telegram in her life with some apprehension. Young master, are you asleep? Li Zixuan smiled and replied, No. Yushi, we're going to get married soon. Why are you still calling me young master? Han Yushi. Then what should I call you? Li Zixuan, husband. Han Yushi, that won't do. Yushi can't call me that now. Li Zixuan. Then just call me Brother Xiaoxian like everyone else. Calling me young master sounds too distant. Han Yushi, all right. Brother Xiaoxian. Li Zixuan. Yushi, how is it? This telegraph machine I made is not bad, right? Before we get married, you can't go out. I specially made this telegraph machine to talk to you and relieve your boredom. This is not considered a violation of etiquette. So this magical iron box was specially made for me. Han Yushi felt a little sweet in her heart and said, Yes, this telegraph machine is very good. Yushi likes it very much. Chapter 293. Everyone, do your best. Regarding the monthly exams reward and punishment system, I believe all of you are very clear about it. I don't need to repeat it, right? If you do well, you will gain both fame and fortune. If you don't do well, the next morning, Li Zixuan held the exam papers and stood on the podium. He was trying to motivate the students before the exam, but his words did not sound like he was trying to motivate them. The students, especially Cheng Chumo, Sun Zifan, Yu Donkai, Kong Chuansuan, and the others, who were aiming to get out of the last 5 places, heard Li Zixuan sneer and felt their buttocks tighten. Oh no, their hearts tightened. If they were unlucky enough to get into the last 5 places, they would not have a good time next month. Ku Shiqing, Zheng Ziren, Meng Wenhao, and the others, who were in the front, were all eager to try. The reward for getting first place in the monthly exam was very tempting, especially Meng Wenhao, who was determined to get first place in this monthly exam. This was because the fleet that was going south would set sail the day after tomorrow. He wanted to get first place and give it to his father. Li Tai was very indifferent. Wollier said to him yesterday, of course, he took it as a joke. The royal family was not so poor that they could not afford to eat. Okay, put away your textbooks and start the exam. At this time, there was the sound of the drum and bell from the directorate. Li Zixuan patted the podium and signaled everyone to be quiet. He began to distribute the exam papers. After handing out the papers, Li Zixuan returned to the podium and brought over a stool. He sat in front of the podium and gloated as he looked at the group of miserable children who were being ravaged by the exam. The questions this time, why? After experiencing the previous weekly exams, the students were already immune to those strange questions. However, When they received the test paper and opened it, they were not used to it. The style of these questions was not quite right. It was so simple. Hee hee, you all can be proud over there. The questions are simple, but it does not mean they are easy. Lisa Schwann was sitting on the podium. The expressions of the students naturally fell into his eyes. He couldn't help but snicker in his heart. Compared to the previous questions, this set of questions was indeed very basic. But who said that basic questions were easy to do? For those who had gone through exam-oriented education, the basic questions were the most difficult. In his previous life, Lisa Schwann would rather do some extremely difficult questions than basic questions. Some basic questions were especially easy to lose points. What's more, there were more or less traps in these questions. As for who would fall into the traps, it would depend on their own luck. F***CK. Sir, you're giving me free marks with these questions. Huh. Sun Ziffin continued to do a few questions as if he had the help of God. In an instant, he felt very good about himself. He couldn't help but feel very proud. He secretly thought that he wouldn't be beaten when he went home this time, right? In the previous weekly exam, although Sun Ziffin relied on the last additional question to get out of the last 5, but he only just got out of the last 5. He was the 8th from the bottom in the mathematics school. When his father, Sun Fujia, casually asked Kong Ingda about Sun Ziffin's results after the morning court, he found out that Sun Ziffin, the son of the top scholar, was honored as the 8th from the bottom in the class. He was furious. When he returned home, he did not say anything and beat Sun Ziffin up. Mrs. Sun pleaded bitterly, but it was useless. Sun Ziffin still remembered the next day when he came to the mathematics school with a swollen face and was laughed at by everyone. In order to not be beaten again, this guy had been studying hard recently. He had learned all the new mathematics knowledge that he had not learned before. At this time, if he was asked to do the last weekly exam again, Sun Ziffin was confident that he would not be at the bottom. If 1 is equal to 4, 2 is equal to 8, 3 is equal to 24, then 4 equals underscore underscore underscore. F***CK. This question is too easy, right? If it was 7 days ago, I might not even be able to understand this question. Even if I understood it, I wouldn't be able to calculate it in a short time. What a pity. A scholar who has been away for 3 days must be looked at with new eyes. The answer to this question is equal to 4 times 24. I can use the multiplication formula and calculate it in a moment. When Sun Ziffin saw the 5th question, he was overjoyed. He was not stupid. Of course, he could find the pattern. Moreover, he now had a certain foundation in mathematics, so this guy thought that he could find the answer quickly. Sun Ziffin calculated the result on the draft paper, 96. Then he proudly wrote the answer on the test paper. Of course, in the mathematics library, there were many masters. Naturally, there was no lack of smart people, such as Li Tai, Iron Egg, and Meng Wenhao. As they encountered more and more questions, the 3 of them did not relax at all. Instead, they became more and more serious. Their eyebrows were tighter and tighter. They looked as if they were facing a great enemy. It was as if the question in front of them was a scourge. It's not easy. This question is definitely not as simple as it looks on the surface. Just like the previous 4 questions, there must be a trap in the question. Meng Wenhao kept reminding himself to not be careless and not fall into the trap. In the previous 4 questions, he almost got it wrong. Fortunately, he relied on his intuition and checked on the spot. That was why he did not fall into the trap set by Lisa Schwann. Meng Wenhao had been tricked many times. His first instinct when he saw the 5th question was that this question was not easy. He secretly warned himself that he must not solve the question according to the usual way. Otherwise, he would definitely get it wrong. After looking at the question several times, Meng Wenhao's eyes suddenly lit up. I got it. 1 is equal to 4. Isn't 4 equal to 1? Sure enough, it's not 96. Sure enough, Mr. Wong deliberately set a trap to harm others. Meng Wenhao was happy, but he could not help but feel lucky. Fortunately, he was serious. Otherwise, he was afraid that he would lose points for such a simple question. If he could not get the first place because of this, wouldn't he cry to death? Iron Egg and Li Tai found the correct answer almost at the same time. They did not have the complicated inner experience like Meng Wenhao. The reason why they were not fooled by the simple appearance of these questions was that they were too familiar with Li Zixuan's character. They knew that with Li Zixuan's bad temper, he would never set such an easy question to let everyone get full marks easily. Therefore, the more simple the question looked, the more suspicious they were. Li Zixuan leaned on the podium and looked for a while. He felt that it was a little boring because there was no one who cheated. Now, he was considered a celebrity in Chang'an. The second generation of the officials in the Imperial College were not simple. Naturally, they were more well-informed than ordinary people. Through word of mouth, many students knew that not only was he good at learning, but he was also good at martial arts. Therefore, no one dared to cheat under Li Zixuan's nose. Li Zixuan leaned on the podium. His eyelids became heavier and heavier. Slowly, he fell asleep. The main reason was that he had chatted with Yushi too late last night. Chapter 294. The students were seriously working on the exam questions. In the classroom, only the rustling sound of the pen tip rubbing against the paper could be heard. In such a quiet environment, Li Zixuan naturally slept very comfortably. However, because the students were immersed in the sea of questions, no one noticed that Li Zixuan was taking a nap. Time passed slowly. The students below were sweating profusely while Li Zixuan was sleeping soundly. Fortunately, he didn't snore when he slept. Otherwise, wouldn't it be embarrassing? When the first class of the Imperial College was about to end, an old man in a scholarly robe suddenly appeared at the entrance of the Institute of Mathematics. It was Kang Yingda. Ever since Li Zixuan joined the School of Mathematics, the series of disturbances in the Imperial College had basically been caused by the School of Mathematics. The School of Mathematics had gradually become a hot topic among all the teachers and students, from an obscure and bottom-feeble existence. The Institute of Mathematics also became the most active of the 6 institutes of the Imperial College. Nowadays, the monthly examination of the Mathematics School was not only a big deal for the Mathematics School. The other 5 schools, as long as they were well-informed, were also paying close attention to the monthly examination of the Mathematics School. After all, the reward for this monthly examination were too generous. If converted to money, it was almost equivalent to 100 strings of cash. To many people, this was a huge sum of money, and such a generous reward could be obtained as long as one got first place. This made many professors and teaching assistants want to participate in this monthly examination. The students from the other academies were naturally envious and jealous. They all made requests to the professors in their own academies, hoping that they could also have a reward system like the one in the Institute of Mathematics and Mathematics. In this way, those professors and teaching assistants were completely in trouble and annoyed all day long. Of course, there were also some narrow-minded people who secretly bore grudges. For example, Cui Shanyu, the professor of the Imperial College, had come to Kang Yingda more than once 2 days ago to complain that Li Zixuan was affecting the academic atmosphere and maliciously disrupting the normal teaching order of the Imperial College. He begged Kang Yingda to kick this kind of person who didn't follow the rules out of the Imperial College. Kang Yingda was not an unreasonable person. He thought about it and used the excuse that Li Zixuan was the one who paid for the exam, and that Li Zixuan was now the director of the Imperial College and had the right to slightly change the system of the Imperial College to send Cui Shanyu away. Of course, Cui Shanyu was unwilling, but Kang Yingda's path was no longer feasible. Even if he was unwilling, there was nothing he could do. Perhaps he could only take another path. Yes, Li Sai is indeed very strict in his studies. The students are all very serious in their exams. Kang Yingda stood at the door and glanced inside. He discovered that no one was looking around and doing nothing. Everyone was immersed in doing the questions. He couldn't help but inwardly sigh in admiration. However, in the next moment, the smile on his face suddenly froze. He saw Li Zixuan lying on the podium, snoring loudly in his sleep. Oomph! Sleeping in a classroom is a disgrace to the educated. Kang Yingda snorted angrily and walked in. His footsteps were very light. Most of the students did not notice him coming in. A small number of students who did notice him only raised their heads to glance at him before lowering their heads and continuing to do the questions. Kong Ingda came to the podium and wanted very much to give Li Zixuan a hard slap on the back of his head. But after thinking about it, he felt that it was inappropriate. First, he was afraid that it would be too loud and affect the students' exams. Second, he was afraid that if he did it in front of the students, it would make Li Zixuan lose face and affect his prestige in the hearts of the students in the future. In the end, Kong Ingda thought about it and only gently pushed Li Zixuan's shoulder. Kong Ingda pushed him again, but he still did not wake up. Kong Ingda could only use some strength. This time, Li Zixuan finally woke up. He raised his head and looked at Kong Ingda. He was stunned for 3 seconds before coming to his senses. F***CK. As a teacher sleeping in class, he was caught red-handed by the principal who happened to pass by. What kind of experience was this? As the person involved, Li Zixuan only wanted to say, "Old Kong, you're here specially to mess with me, right? This young master has never slept in class before. Why did you catch me after I only slept with her once?" Li Zixuan stared blankly for a moment. Just as he wanted to say something, he was stopped by Kong Ingda's gaze. "Come out with me," Kong Ingda said in a low voice. He then turned around and walked out of the classroom with a gloomy face. "Oh," Li Zixuan responded and followed him out. "Cough, Chancellor Kong. Why have you come here?" "I was just meditating on an extremely difficult math problem and got lost in thought. My mind wandered and I almost thought of an idea. I didn't notice Chancellor's arrival. My apologies." Arriving under the ginkgo tree in front of the School of Mathematics, Li Zixuan did not wait for Kong Ingda to speak and took the initiative to explain. This was called taking the initiative. Otherwise, if Kong Ingda spoke first and took the lead in the conversation, Li Zixuan was sure that he would die a horrible death. The corner of Kong Ingda's mouth twitched. He wanted to kick this shameless person, but was afraid that it would affect his image as a dignified chancellor. He could only say in a muffled voice, "Whether you were meditating or sleeping, I'm sure Li Sai knows better than me. I'm here today to remind you that the School of Mathematics is flourishing and your hard work is obvious to all. However, you can't be complacent just because of small achievement. You have to know that there are many people who are watching you from behind." "What do you mean?" Li Zixuan stared and asked in puzzlement. That's all I have to say. You're on your own." Kong Ingda originally wanted to have a good talk with Li Zixuan. However, he couldn't help but recall the scene he saw in the classroom. He was furious and left in a huff. "Hey, this old man, why is he so angry today? Could it be that his wife is having an affair? Bah, bah, bah. What are you talking about?" Li Zixuan muttered to himself and returned to the classroom. The students were still very obedient and didn't dare to cause any trouble. Li Zixuan sat on the podium and sighed. It was lonely to be a master. At this time, he really wished that a troublemaker would appear in the school. Then he would have some fun. He was bored and didn't have a cell phone to pass the time. In his previous life, he had experienced many exams. At that time, there were many invigilators who would comfortably play with their cell phones to pass the time while watching the students being tortured. What a pity. He was a time traveler. Although his family was rich, he couldn't afford a cell phone. Li Zixuan could only lean over the podium and take out the pencil he had asked someone to make for him. He started to write The Legend of a Mortal's Journey to Immortality. Recently, he had used up too much of the manuscript for The Mortal. Majo had already asked him for a few manuscripts. It was not a bad idea to take the opportunity to write a novel. Anyway, he had kung fu now, and his writing speed was very fast. Therefore, a very strange scene appeared in the School of Mathematics. The students were crazily doing the test papers while Li Zixuan, the unreliable teacher, was holding a wooden stick on the podium and writing a novel like crazy. Chapter 295. Clang, clang, clang. Let's go and take a look at the monthly exam at Clang. It's just a monthly exam. What's so interesting about it? The student named Yuan Shua shook his head and refused. What do you mean it's not interesting? If it's not interesting, why would there be so many people in the first 2 classes? Let's go. TSK, TSK. I heard that the first place in the monthly exam can bring their whole family to Zuatian for free. You can order whatever you want as long as you can finish it. Yinfu, although your family isn't rich, you can't afford to eat at Zuatian, right? Your father is the owner of the Hongwen school. His calligraphy is priceless. Any one of his calligraphy pieces would be enough for your family to spend for several years, right? So the young man in front of him was Chu Suoyang's eldest son, Chu Yinfu. Sigh, it's not as exaggerated as you say. But even so, my father won't agree. My father thinks that his calligraphy can't be compared to those filthy things. So, even if I have the money to eat at Zuatian, I won't be so extravagant as to order whatever I want. Yinfu, there's no point in being envious. You're not a student of Clang. Yuan Shuo chuckled and struck a blow with his words. Although I'm not a student of Clang, I can still go and take a look. Yuan Shuo, let's go. Don't you admire Li Sai's new mathematics? Let's go and take a look. After Chu Yinfu finished speaking, he pulled Yuan Shuo's arm and walked out of the classroom without any explanation. Hey, I didn't say I was going. Ahem. Where are you guys going? The two poor kids bumped into one of the 5 professors of Clang. Cui Shanyu. Sir, let's go. We're going to the toilet. Sir. When Chu Yinfu heard that Yuan Shuo was about to tell the truth, he quickly cut in and made up a lie. Oh, then go quickly. Don't be late for class later. Cui Shanyu carefully examined their expressions for a while, but didn't see anything strange, so he said coldly, All right, sir, we'll be off then. Chu Yinfu pulled Yuan Shuo and ran away. Hey, Yinfu, isn't the School of Mathematics in the south? How can we run east? Yuan Shuo asked suspiciously after running for a while. Yuan Shuo, are you stupid? Just now, we told Dr. Cui that we were going to the toilet. If you don't run here, won't you be exposed? It's the same if we take a detour to the School of Mathematics and Mathematics. All right, Yinfu, why did you lie to Dr. Cui just now? Haven't you heard? Recently, Professor Cui has always found Li Sai to be an eyesore, believing that he has led the directorate astray. He has already complained to the chancellor more than once. There is actually such a thing, but Li Sai didn't lead astray. On the contrary, ever since he came to the directorate, we all used blackboard chalk, enjoyed the start and end of class system, and even learned pinyin. Why would Dr. Cui slander Dr. Li like this? Sai, who said it wasn't? But Yuan Shuo, you don't have to worry. Dr. Li has now become the director at CE, and Dr. Cui doesn't have the ability to destroy him. In the School of Mathematics and Mathematics, the teachers and students inside were all immersed in their writing and didn't pay attention to the students outside. Li Zixuan was writing a novel and couldn't help but be immersed in the story, so he didn't pay attention to the outside. The students in the School of Mathematics and Mathematics had too many questions, so they didn't have time to look around. After a while, the bell and drum for class rang, and the students outside scattered like birds and beasts, rushing to their respective classrooms. The School of Mathematics and Mathematics regained its silence. Gradually, this monthly examination entered the countdown to the end. Many students had also reached the last question. In this monthly examination, Li Zixuan didn't set any additional questions, so this last question was a compulsory question for the students. However, after everyone read the question, they were all dumbfounded. One day, a young man came to Boss Wang's shop to buy a gift. The cost of this gift was 180 copper coins, and the price was 210 copper coins. In the end, this young man took out a golden bean worth 1,000 copper coins to buy this gift. Boss Wang didn't have so many copper coins at that time, so he used the golden bean worth 1,000 copper coins to exchange with the neighbor for 1,000 copper coins and gave the young man 790 copper coins. However, the neighbor later found out that the golden bean was fake, so Boss Wang had no choice but to return the neighbor a golden bean of the same size. The question is, how much money did Boss Wang lose in this transaction? After reading the question, Sun Zifen felt a little confused. He read the question twice again and felt that he had some ideas. He began to calculate on the draft paper. The 790 copper coins that Boss Wang gave to the young man was his loss, and the 1,000 copper coins that he gave to his neighbor was also his loss. His income was 210 copper coins, but 180 copper coins were his cost, So his total loss was 790 plus 1,000 plus 180 minus 210 is equal to 1,760 copper coins. TSK. That should be it, right? Sun Ziffin sorted out his thoughts and calculated the answer in a short while. He couldn't help but feel a little complacent. When he was about to copy the answer on the test paper, he suddenly felt that something was wrong. He paused and calculated again. No, I should think of it this way. Boss Wong's loss was the 1,000 copper coins that he returned to the neighbor and the 790 copper coins that he gave to the buyer. In addition to the 180 copper coins that the buyer took away as a gift, the total was 1,000 plus 790 plus 180 is equal to 1970 copper coins. This should be correct, right? Sun Ziffin held his chin and thought for a while. He was a little hesitant about the second answer and didn't dare to write the answer on the test paper. He looked at the question again and still felt that something was wrong. That's not right. Although the cost of the gift was 180 copper coins, its price was 210 copper coins. Boss Wong could earn 30 copper coins if he sold it to someone else. After selling it to the young man, other than the money he lost, shouldn't the 30 copper coins be included as well? In this way, Boss Wong's loss would be 1,000 plus 790 plus 210 is equal to 2,000 copper coins. F***CK. How did he come up with 3 answers in such a short time? Which one is the correct answer? Sun Ziffin looked at the 3 different answers on the draft paper and was completely dumbfounded. If this guy had transmigrated, he would definitely vomit blood and say, F***CK. This question is poisonous. Is it 1760 copper coins? Or 1970 copper coins? Or 2,000 copper coins? Which one should I choose? Sun Ziffin's eyes darted between the 3 answers. After a while, he felt a little dizzy. He shook his head and said angrily in his heart, F***CK, draw lots. I'll take whichever one I get. My luck has always been good. I don't believe that I won't get it. If Li Zixuan knew what this guy was thinking, he would definitely give him 2 big slaps. Do you F***king think you're doing a multiple choice question? Why don't you throw dice instead of drawing lots? In modern times, when students were unable to make a decision on a multiple choice question, many people would choose to draw lots or throw coins. In a way, this silly guy was a pioneer. Chapter 296. The last question of the monthly exam was indeed poisonous. Of course, Sun Ziffin was not the only one who was poisoned. Everyone was dumbfounded, and 80% of the students got at least 2 answers. On the podium, Li Zixuan took a deep breath and shook his wrist. In half a day's time, he had actually written a full 20 chapters. He couldn't help but feel a little proud in his heart. It was good to have martial arts. If one were to make a quantitative analysis of everyone's attributes, an ordinary person's dexterity would be around 5 to 6. Li Zixuan's dexterity could reach 30. Of course, writing novels would be much faster. Hey, look at them scratching their heads and frowning. Could it be that they have already reached the last question? Li Zixuan looked up at the student's current situation. After thinking for a while, he immediately understood the reason. He laughed in his heart. This last question was a second-grade math problem in the modern era. However, it was not to be underestimated. It was said that even if it was done by adults, 9 out of 10 people would get it wrong. Basically, the wrong answers were also varied and varied. Meng Wenhao was the most miserable because he had given 5 different answers to this question: 1760 copper, 1970 copper, 2,000 copper, 970 copper, and 1,000 copper. However, after careful consideration, he had already eliminated the first 3 answers. This question was deliberately set up by the teacher. You have to find another way to get the correct answer, clearly and methodically. You can use the most basic relationship to analyze how much money Boss Wong lost in the end. First, I will analyze Boss Wong and his neighbor. Boss Wong first gave the neighbor a fake golden bean in exchange for 1,000 copper coins. The value of the fake golden bean was 0, so Boss Wong made a profit of 1,000 copper coins from the neighbor. Later, the neighbor found out that the golden bean was fake, so Boss Wong compensated the neighbor with a real golden bean. Now, Boss Wong paid 1,000 copper coins. In addition to the 1,000 copper coins he made before, Boss Wong did not lose any money from the neighbor. Then, he was only left with the money he lost from the young man. Then, between Boss Wong and the young man, Boss Wong gave the young man the change and lost 790 copper coins. After selling the gift, Boss Wong lost 180 copper coins. So, the question is, after selling the gift, did he lose 180 copper coins or 210 copper coins? After all, if this transaction was a normal transaction, Boss Wong could earn 30 copper coins. This was originally Boss Wong's labor. Now that it was gone, should it be counted as a loss? If that's included, then Boss Wong has lost 1,000 copper coins. Meng Wenhao was struggling fiercely in his mind. He hesitated and hesitated. Finally, when he saw that time was almost up, he gritted his teeth and did something that left everyone dumbfounded. Clang, clang, clang. The bell and drum, signaling the end of the Imperial College, finally rang, signifying the end of the monthly examination. Stop writing. Stop writing. Everyone stop writing. The last student in each row, please stand up and collect your papers. Li Zixuan stood up and shouted. All the students, whether they were done or not, put down their pens. There was no other way. They didn't want to be caught with a 0 score because of this. If that was really the case, he would definitely suffer when he returned home. After a while, Li Zixuan checked the test papers and nodded with satisfaction. Done. Class was over. Oh no, it's a holiday. Also, pray that you don't end up in the last 5. I've already asked the craftsmen to prepare the honor roll and shame roll. They will be erected in front of the School of Mathematics in 2 days. I wish everyone a happy holiday. Huh. The students were originally prepared to cheer when they heard that it was a holiday. However, the second half of Li Zixuan's sentence made everyone wilt. Damn, since you said that. How am I supposed to spend my holiday? Happy holiday? Happy my ass. Chung Chumo rolled his eyes and complained his heart. This guy had been hanging out with Li Zixuan for the longest time. He had learned a lot of the modern words that Li Zixuan often said and could use them well. Chung Chumo's grades were not good, but he was a fast learner. Sir, how can you do this? Yeah, how am I supposed to spend my holiday? Damn, it's over. I just checked the answers with Meng Wenhao. Only 40% of the answers are the same. Damn. If I end up in the shame roll, I will be skinned alive by my old man when I return home. Ha ha ha. Wang Meng, good job. Now that you said that, I feel a little more confident. Bullshit. Sun Zifan, how good do you think you will be? You might not even score as high as me. Li Zixuan smiled and did not bother about this bunch of cute idiots. He carried the test papers and got into the carriage to go home. He was actually very happy. He had just finished his confinement period and returned to the Imperial College to work for half a day. Then, he would be able to enjoy the wonderful weekend break. Life was still pretty good. Most importantly, now that he had a telegraph machine, he could chat with pretty girls anytime. He would not be bored anymore. After lunch, Li Zixuan was about to start marking the test papers. After all, he did not like to drag things out until the end. At this moment, a servant came to report that Ma Zhou had arrived. Li Zixuan hurried to the main hall in the front yard. Haha, Lord Zhu. Ma Zhou, who was sitting on a chair, stood up and cupped his hands in greeting. It was worth mentioning that Li Zixuan could not stand the stools at home. At first, he only made himself a reclining chair. Later on, he simply asked the craftsman to replace all the benches at home with chairs with backs. Brother Ma, why are you here? Haha, take a seat, don't stand on ceremony. Li Zixuan laughed and sat beside Ma Zhou. Ma Zhou obeyed and sat down. He replied, Lord Zhu, I am here today for 3 matters. First, the shopkeeper of Chang'an's #1 bookstore, Mingda Bookstore, has sent someone to contact us. He said that he wants us to give them a batch of goods to sell on his behalf. Li Zixuan nodded. Didn't I mention this before? If they're willing to cooperate with us, they can do so if the conditions permit. Brother Ma, you can decide for yourself. Ma Zhou shook his head. Lord Zhu, this bookstore is different. Mingda Bookstore's quantity is larger. Moreover, this bookstore's background is not small. Their shopkeeper came with a letter from the current minister of the Ministry of Appointments. A few days ago, They came a few times. However, at that time, I saw that Lord Ju was in seclusion researching new things, so I sent them away. I did not expect them to come again today. This is a serious matter. I did not dare to act on my own. I am here to ask for Lord Ju's opinion. Zhang Sun Wuji? Li Zishuan frowned deeply. When he went to the imperial court for the first time, Zhang Sun Wuji spoke up for him. He still remembered this incident. Logically speaking, he should have a good impression of Zhang Sun Wuji. However, he did not. This was because from some history books, novels, and television dramas, Zhang Sun Wuji was a scheming old fox. He was not easy to get along with. Give it to them. Satisfy them as much as possible. I owed Zhang Sun Wuji a favor last time. This time, I will return it all. However, Brother Ma, you have to tell them that even if the price of the books they purchase from us is slightly more expensive than our Chi-Chu culture, it will only be 10% more expensive than our books. Otherwise, we will not cooperate with them in the future. Li Zishuan thought for a while and said to Ma Zhou, "Yes, Lord Ju." Ma Zhou nodded in satisfaction. Li Zishuan was very considerate. He also heaved a sigh of relief. Chapter 297. The second matter is about the Tang Daily. Li Residence, Main Hall. Ma Zhou took out a stack of manuscripts and handed it to Li Zishuan. He said, "Lord Ju, after the publicity you planned, there have been a lot of people who have contributed to the Dahua Jianghu section. The themes of these people's novels are similar to a legend of a mortal's journey to immortality. I've picked out two of the most outstanding ones. What do you think, Lord Ju?" Li Zishuan smiled knowingly. He had spent so much time promoting the Tang Daily's novels, and his hard work had not been in vain. There were indeed people who were truly noble and virtuous in this world, but they were very rare. Most of the scholars, although on the surface they considered themselves noble and virtuous, would fight to fall into the mortal world if the price was high enough. This was exactly what Li Zishuan needed. The novel market would only become popular when there were more authors joining. Not bad, not bad. Let me take a look. Now, why is the paper so rough? Li Zishuan took the manuscripts and laughed happily at first, then frowned. Cough. Lord Ju, those scholars who contributed were from poor families. They couldn't afford good quality rice paper. Ma Zhou explained. Oh, I almost forgot about that. How about this, Brother Ma? In the future, for every novel writer that we hire, we will give them 2 pieces of good quality paper for free for every manuscript they submit. This can be considered as a benefit for them. Li Zishuan slapped his head and shouted. This guy didn't know the cost of daily necessities until he was in charge of the household. He had forgotten that in this era, good quality rice paper was not something that ordinary people could afford. Once this method is out, I'm afraid that the enthusiasm of the scholars will be even higher, right? Ma Zhou nodded and smiled. That's exactly what I want. Anyway, the cost of making new paper in our workshop is not high. Li Zishuan said as he took the manuscripts and started reading. The name of the first novel was Zhang Xiaohua's Journey to Immortality. The author was Tian Xianghua. Introduction. A young man without spiritual roots, by chance, saved a seriously injured elder of Miao Yun Valley. The elder was grateful and recommended him to become a member of Miao Yun Valley, a small cultivation sect. By chance, he obtained the ability to turn waste into treasure. Since then, he has embarked on the path of cultivation. Li Zishuan's expression was a little strange. Why does the introduction look so familiar? Just by looking at the introduction, he knew that it was full of tricks. Chapter 1. Zhang Xiaohua. The enormous mountain range that was shrouded in clouds was like a primordial beast that was about to awaken. Low rumbling sounds came from the sky above the mountain range. Accompanying the loud sounds was a vast amount of energy that covered the sky. Sigh. A disappointed sigh came from an ordinary-looking youth with a wooden expression. He had failed again. This was the 69th time he had failed in the past 5 months. No matter how tough Zhang Xiaohua's mind was, he was still surrounded by depression and despair. The corner of the young man's mouth revealed a trace of a bitter smile. He shook his head and looked at his hand. Was his aptitude really that bad? Zhang Xiaohua clenched his fist tightly. His nails had already pierced deep into his flesh, but he didn't seem to feel any pain. He was 17 years old this year and had already been a disciple of Miao Yun Valley for 3 years. Miao Yun Valley was a small sect in the cultivation world. They had nearly 1,000 disciples, and Zhang Xiaohua was one of the low-level disciples. In 3 years, his fellow apprentices had already entered the middle stage of spirit formation. A few of them had even entered the late stage of the 5th layer, but he was still lingering in the 1st layer. Li Zixuan read a few paragraphs and lost interest. He felt that he could more or less guess the plot after reading this. He guessed that wherever the pig trotters went, it would be the start of the auction. Wherever he went, it would be best if the person's cultivation was only 1 level higher than him. Wherever he went, it would be a treasure hunt, but in the end, he would be the only one to obtain the inheritance treasure. No matter which world he went to, the first few pages were destined to be encounters. F***CK. This was basically an old story from cultivation novels. In the modern era, when The Legend of a Mortal's Journey to Immortality came out, it quickly ignited the popularity of the mortal genre. A large number of books that followed the trend, such as 100 Refinements to Immortality, Search for the Immortal Path, Limitless Demonic Path, etc., appeared out of nowhere. Fighting monsters, leveling up, treasure hunting, auctions, these were all used over and over again. Sigh, modern people like to follow the trend, but I didn't expect the ancient people to follow the trend even more. What should I do? I originally thought that someone would write a novel for me to read, but now it seems that there is still a long way to go. Li Zixuan's heart was filled with regret. Lord Zhu, is this novel not good? When Ma Zhou saw Li Zixuan's expression, his heart skipped a beat, and he asked in puzzlement. This was a novel that he had picked out from dozens of novels. Oh no, it's not bad. Although this story is similar to The Legend of a Mortal's Journey to Immortality, this person can be considered to have imitated his own style. In the next issue of the newspaper, let's publish this novel as well. In the future, The Legend of a Mortal will be set at 3 p.m. every day, so that we can copy some pages for other novels. Li Zixuan came back to his senses and said, in his previous life, he had experienced the bombardment of all kinds of novels and was already a proper bookworm. His taste was definitely higher. In this era, people did not read many novels. He felt that The Legend of Zhang Xiaohua's Journey to Immortality was old-fashioned, but that did not mean that others would feel the same way. Just like 100 Refinements to Immortality in his previous life, although it was a copy of The Legend of a Mortal, it still attracted a large number of readers. Yes, Lord Zhu. Then what about the other novel? That novel is actually as good as this one. Do you want to hire it? Ma Zhou asked. Let's hire it. I believe in Brother Ma's taste. Li Zixuan waved his hand and said casually. When he heard Ma Zhou say that novel is actually as good as this one, he did not have the mood to open it to take a look. Thank you for your trust, Lord Zhu. Ma Zhou thought that it was really because Li Zixuan trusted him and was suddenly overwhelmed by the favor. No need. Oh right, Brother Ma. In the future, as we hire more and more novels, the original The Legend of the Underworld section will definitely not be enough. You have to be prepared to separate this section. In the future, the Tang Daily will be separated into 2 separate publications, news and novels. Li Zixuan thought for a while and added, Yes, Lord Zhu, I will arrange it in advance. Didn't you just say that there are 3 things? What's the last one? Replying to Lord Zhu, the third thing is that there are not enough chapters for The Legend of a Mortal's Journey to Immortality. I know that Lord Zhu is busy, but I still hope that Lord Zhu can find the time to write a few more chapters. After all, you said before that the authors who stopped updating didn't have a little ahem. Know that thing? As Ma Zhou spoke, he almost blurted out that word. He suddenly felt extremely embarrassed. F***CK. Li Zixuan almost vomited blood in his heart. Was this considered shooting himself in the foot? Ahem, I've already prepared this. Here, I'll give it to you. This is the 20 chapters of The Legend of a Mortal that I wrote this morning. Chapter 298. After sending off Ma Zhou, the debt collector, Li Zixuan shook his head and returned to his courtyard. He was surrounded by beauties, running water, and a gentle breeze. Under the pavilion, Li Zixuan was marking the test papers while enjoying the wonderful humanistic care. He was very satisfied. He planned to finish marking the test papers today and then have a comfortable holiday for the next 2 days. Of course, the facts later proved that he was thinking too much. TSK, amazing. You Donkai, this unlucky guy, perfectly stepped on all the traps I dug. He didn't let any of them go. Amazing. Did this little bastard do it on purpose? Li Zixuan looked at the test paper in front of him and sighed. On the top right corner of the test paper, there was 18 written on it. If Yu Donkai was here, he would have vomited blood if he heard this sentence. What the hell do you mean by did it on purpose? Isn't it because you purposely set me up? Doesn't your conscience hurt when you say that? But then again, Yu Donkai was too good. As long as Li Zixuan purposely set a trap for him, he would answer all the questions wrongly. If this guy walked on a road with landmines, he would probably walk on all the landmines buried. Luckily, Li Zixuan set a few honest questions without any traps. Otherwise, Yu Donkai wouldn't have dared to score 0. Xiao He and Xiao Shi, who were waiting on the side, heard Li Zixuan's words and couldn't help but cover their mouths and chuckle. They silently mourned for this student named Yu Donkai. Not bad. Sun Zifan, this kid improved quite quickly. From 20 points last time to 58 points this time, although he still didn't pass. Although this guy gave 3 answers to the last question, although all 3 answers he gave were wrong, this rapid progress is still worthy of praise. Li Zixuan held Sun Zifan's test paper and sighed. Xiao He and Xiao Shi looked at each other and were speechless. This sentence sounded strange to them. The first half of the sentence was fine, but the second half of the sentence was used 3 times in a row. Was this a compliment to Sun Zifan, or was it mockery? Brother Hua, my novel has been accepted by Tang Daily. Furthermore, their editorial department had offered a high price of 20 copper coins per 1,000 words. That's great. Jinyu Academy, under the pine forest. Chen Tianhua laughed heartily with an excited expression. Oh, why was the price so high? Didn't they say that 1,000 characters were worth 5 copper coins? Hua Hongyi asked in surprise. Brother Hua, you didn't read it carefully. Back then, he said at least 5 copper coins per 1,000 words. As for the exact amount, it depends on the quality of the work. Chen Tianhua explained. Oh, then congratulations to Tianhua. This way, you'll be able to earn 3 or 4 strings of cash every month. Although Hua Hongyi couldn't help but feel a little disappointed, he still sincerely congratulated his good brother. Tianhua, you're really amazing. Although my novel was accepted, I only received a price of 10 copper coins for 1,000 words. Liao Feichen couldn't help but say. Feichen, don't think like that. It's a good thing to be accepted. A few days ago, both of you didn't think that you would be accepted, right? Now that your wish has been fulfilled, don't be discontent. I heard that there are at least 50 scholars who have submitted to Tang Daily these few days, if not 100. It's not easy for both of you to stand out. Hua Hongyi analyzed with a smile. Yes, Hongyi is right. It's not easy to be accepted. Feichen, you write first. I believe that you'll write better and better later. Chen Tianhua interrupted. Yes, that makes sense. I was a little greedy. Liao Feichen thought for a moment and nodded in agreement. It turned out that the 2 novels that Faubert had picked out were both from Jinyu Academy. Oh, right? Hongyi, didn't you say that you wanted to write your own novel? How's the preparation going? Feichen and I are looking forward to it. Chen Tianhua looked at Hua Hongyi and asked. Hua Hongyi thought for a while and said, My novel isn't imitating a legend of a mortal's journey to immortality. I plan to write a new story. There's no cultivation level, no treasure hunting, and no trial auction. I plan to write about a hooligan who knows a little about martial arts. I'll write about him roaming the Jianghu and serving justice. I've already built the framework of the novel. I should be able to write 30,000 words soon. I'll take it to the workshop and try my luck. It'll be great if I could be accepted. If not, I'll just treat it as my own entertainment. Wow, martial arts? It sounded pretty good. But Hong, have you seen any Jianghu masters? Liao Feichen asked in surprise. Of course I have. When I was young, I lived in the Sichuan area. There were many Jianghu sects there. I've seen many real Jianghu masters. So, I thought that instead of writing about those illusory cultivation and Tao, I might as well write about the Jianghu masters that I've seen. Hua Hongyi looked to the south with some nostalgia and said, after hearing what you said, Hong-yi, I can't wait to see it. Hong-yi, go and write it. Chen Tianhua said excitedly. Yes, yes, yes. Go and write it. I've never seen a legendary Jianghu master before. Husband, see if there's anything else you need. I'll go to the East Market tomorrow and buy it for you. The sea is windy and the waves are strong. You have to prepare everything in advance. Yi Lane, Meng family. Although the fleet would set sail the day after tomorrow, Mother Meng had already started to help Father Meng pack his things. Hey, it's still early. Why are you in such a hurry, you silly woman? Besides, we're going out to sea to work. Why are you packing so many things for me? Isn't it troublesome to bring them along? Father Meng looked at the luggage on the bed and felt a little uncomfortable. However, he still said impatiently, but these are the clothes that you need to wear frequently. How can you not bring them? Also, I heard from Sister Wang next door that it's cold at sea at night. You might catch a cold. Bullshit. You believe that woman's words? Father Meng said angrily. It's always good to prepare more. Husband, you have to be careful at sea. How? And Yaya are counting on you. Mother Meng said weakly. It's fine. I won't die for sure. Don't you know how good I am in the water? Why are you wasting time here? Go and cook for the two children. Father Meng waved his hand and turned around impatiently. However, no one noticed that a drop of turbid tear almost fell from the corner of this tower-like man's eye. He was actually afraid that he wouldn't be able to come back this time. If that was the case, what would happen to his two children? All right, husband, I'll go and kill that old hen and stew it for you. Wait, you prodigal woman. That hen's eggs are for Hao, to nourish his body. How can you kill it? Chapter 299. Father, outside the house, Meng Wenhao stood in the corner with his back against the wall. He clenched his fists so tightly that his fingernails dug deep into his flesh. However, he did not seem to feel any pain at all. His eyes were slightly red at this moment. Obviously, he had heard the conversation just now. At this point, no one could stop Father Meng's journey to the south. Meng Wenhao and Mother Meng had tried, but in the end, they returned without success. Meng Wenhao's heart was extremely heavy. He sighed, shook his head, and went to the front hall dejectedly. In the hall, the thin and weak Yaya also felt that the atmosphere in the house was not right. A child's heart was always very sensitive. Big brother, is Daddy leaving soon? Yaya looked up and asked in a crisp voice. Yes. Father will leave the day after tomorrow. Yaya, you have to be obedient and not distract Father. Meng Wenhao's heart ached. He rubbed his little sister's braids and said softly, Yaya will definitely be obedient. But brother, where is Father going? When will he be back? To the south. He should be back in 2 or 3 months. Meng Wenhao replied with uncertainty. But Yaya heard from Fat Tiger that Father might not be able to come back this time. He said that Yaya will be a child without a father in the future. Yaya doesn't want Father to leave, but Father doesn't listen to Yaya. Brother, Yaya is so sad. Nonsense. Meng Wenhao was furious. He clenched his fists and said hatefully, Yaya, don't listen to that little bastard Fat Tiger's nonsense. The next time I see him, I will definitely beat him up. Father will definitely be fine and will definitely be back soon. Brother promises you. Yaya believes in brother. But brother, don't fight. Fighting is not good. Husband, this is the rice wine I bought in the East Market today. Do you want to try it? At night, candles were lit in every house in the square. In the Meng family, a family of 4 sat around a shabby table for dinner. The atmosphere was very warm. Father Meng glared at his wife. He wanted to scold her for being extravagant, but in the end, he didn't say anything. Smelling the fragrance of the rice wine, Father Meng's long-suppressed alcohol addiction was also aroused. He picked up the bowl and took a sip. He didn't swallow it immediately, allowing the taste buds in his mouth to absorb the stimulation of the rice wine's fragrance. Huh, good wine. A moment later, Father Meng swallowed the mouthful of rice wine and sighed. Father, what kind of good wine is this? The Drunken Immortal in's Drunken Immortal is the real deal. Meng Wenhao forced a smile in order to liven up the atmosphere. Huh, you stinking brat. That immortal drunken wine is a liter of 5 strings. Is it something that rough men like us can drink? Although Father Meng had never drunk the Drunken Immortal before, he was obviously quite knowledgeable. He pointed at his son and scolded him with a smile. Hey, who said that father can't drink it? Teacher said before that everyone is born equal. The reason why we are treated differently is because we don't work hard. One day, I will let you drink the Drunken Immortal every day. You can drink as much as you want. Meng Wenhao said firmly. My son is ambitious. The proudest thing in father's life is to have a son like you. So what if Squire, whose family is rich? His son is not as capable as my Hao. When Father Meng heard this, he didn't criticize his son for bragging. Instead, he was filled with pride and laughed heartily. How did you do in a monthly exam this time? I heard from Squire, whose son, that your School of Mathematics is getting higher and higher in the Director of Education. Many students from other schools are paying attention to the monthly exam this time. Mother Meng smiled and asked with a hint of joy on her face. It was not easy for Meng Wenhao to enter the Imperial College of Mathematics and Mathematics from the provincial capital school. His mother was very satisfied, but people were greedy. After Meng Wenhao entered the Imperial College of Mathematics and Mathematics, Meng Wenhao's mother thought that it would be good if her son could continue to enter the Four-Gate School of Mathematics and Mathematics. However, she didn't expect the School of Mathematics to suddenly rise in status. It seemed like it was going to surpass the other schools. When Meng Wenhao heard his mother's question, he couldn't help but think of the situation during the exam this morning. He pondered for a moment and answered, Mother, I think I did okay. As for whether I can get first place, it will depend on my luck. He looked at the wine bowl in Father Meng's hand and continued, If I can get first place, according to the rules of our School of Mathematics, I can bring you all to the Drunken Immortal restaurant for free. However, by the time the results are announced, I'm afraid Father will have gone to sea. The atmosphere in the room became a little heavy for a moment. You're such a boring woman. We're having a good meal. Why are you asking about the exam results? When have we ever worried about our Hao-er's results? Father Meng slapped the table and glared at Mother Meng. He then looked at Meng Wenhao and said earnestly, Although I won't be home at that time, you can take your mother and Yaya with you. All these years, our family has been eating chaff and vegetables. It's good to take this opportunity to improve our diet. Isn't Yaya craving for that gnawing chicken? This time, let's let her eat to her heart's content. However, as a man, how can you act like a little girl? Although Father didn't study much, I know that separation and joy are common things in the world. A man should be open-minded. How can you care about these trivial matters every day? Yes, Father, I understand. Meng Wenhao wanted to refute, but after hesitating for a moment, he still responded in a muffled voice. Father knows that you're all worried. Actually, there's no need for that. For this voyage, Boss Feng has equipped each of our ships with a compass. Even if we're separated from the team, due to strong winds and waves, we can still use the compass to find the direction. As Father Meng spoke, he took out an exquisite compass from his arms. It was a product of the Curious Pavilion Workshop. Meng Wenhao was very familiar with this thing. When the first generation of compasses was released, he was still at the scene. Mother Meng saw the shiny object and took it curiously. Hey, be careful, be careful. This little thing costs 5 strings of money. Father Meng hurriedly exhorted. Mother Meng was so shocked that her wrist trembled and she almost dropped the compass to the ground. Fortunately, Meng Wenhao's hand was quick enough to catch it. Mother Meng said with lingering fear, Thank goodness. Why is this thing so expensive? Bring it over. This thing is a navigation tool specially made by the Curious Pavilion for this voyage to the south. It said that Hao-er's husband, Li Xianan, personally invented it. This thing is light and can give accurate directions. How can it not be expensive? I heard that the bosses of the other fleets only equip one compass for every 5 ships. It's rare to see someone as generous as Boss Foam. Father Meng asked for the compass and carefully put it back into his pocket as he grumbled in annoyance. Oh, then Boss Foam is really a good person, Mother Meng said happily. Father, Yaya doesn't want to eat the gnawing chicken. I only want Father to stay. Yaya, who was chewing on her cornbread, said meekly. Father Meng. Chapter 300. Your Highness, you've come. The next morning, Li Zishuan had just finished his breakfast when he received a report from a servant that Li Xiaogong had arrived. He hurried to the main hall to receive him. With Li Xiaogong's status, there was naturally no need to report his arrival to the Li residence. Thus, he was directly welcomed into the main hall by the steward, where he was served tea while waiting for Li Zishuan to arrive. Haha, sit. Li Xiaogong gave a bold smile. It was clear that he had been living a very comfortable life recently. Yes, Li Zishuan felt somewhat awkward. Damn, this is my house. Why do you make it seem like I'm the guest and you're the host? Tomorrow, the army and fleet will set out for the south. Little Xian, you should know about this, right? Seeing Li Zishuan sit down, Li Xiaogong fiddled with the teacup in his hand as he casually asked this question. Li Zishuan nodded and smiled. This kid really does know. Shouldn't your highness be in the barracks organizing the army? Why do you have the time to come see this kid? Huh. My great Tang's army rests on their spears every day, and there's not a single one missing from their daily training. Why would they need to sharpen their spears at the last minute? Besides, even if this king wasn't here, the generals would have already made arrangements. Otherwise, what would they do? Li Xiaogong's lips curled as he nonchalantly said. Li Zishuan's heart was moved. This is the style of a powerful nation. From the sovereign to the common people, everyone had a powerful self-confidence in their bones. This was something that the Song, late Ming, and Qing dynasties lacked. It was no wonder that in a few years, the great Tang would be so powerful that it would have no friends. This king came today to thank you for the compass. This thing is truly too useful. Many of this king's veteran Navy soldiers loved it so much that they couldn't bear to part with it. They kept saying that this compass was a life-saving item. This king also asked His Majesty for a reward for you, but His Majesty seemed to have other plans and didn't want to reward you right now. This king couldn't change His Majesty's decree, so I could only personally come to thank you. Kid, your actions have saved the lives of many soldiers. After Li Xiaogong finished speaking, he solemnly cupped his hands and bowed to Li Zishuan. Li Zishuan was shocked. He hurriedly moved aside and said, Your Highness, you are too serious. As a commander-in-chief, it is understandable that you care about the lives of your soldiers. As a citizen of the Tang Empire, I am able to enjoy such a stable living environment because the soldiers on the front line sacrificed their lives for it. Now, it is my duty to do something for the Tang army. I dare not accept your highness's bow. In fact, he knew in his heart that the reason Wily Air did not take the opportunity to reward him was probably because he was still concerned about the wireless telegram. Previously, he didn't want to get his title promoted as soon as possible, but he did not want to be led by the nose by Li Air all the time. Therefore, this time, he directly gave up. If he did not get promoted, then so be it. Anyway, he was quite happy now. Huh, you brat. You sure know how to say things. But what you said is very reasonable. It's rare for you to have such a high level of awareness. Seeing that Li Zishuan did not accept his bow, Li Xiaogong did not force him. He returned to his seat and smiled. Hee, your highness is overpraising me. Li Zishuan gave a dry laugh. In his heart, he was criticizing Li Xiaogong for being insincere. Since he was here to thank him, why didn't he bring any gifts when he came? For example, the few luminous pearls that Wang Yu had given him previously were not bad. He believed that Li Xiaogong's house definitely had such things. It was just a matter of whether Li Xiaogong was willing to part with them. If Li Xiaogong knew what Li Zishuan was thinking, he would definitely give him a big kick. It was true that he was leading the army south this time, but this was not his personal work. In the end, he was still working for Li Air. There is no need for him to fork out his own money for this matter. As for the second matter, Xiaoxian, this prince had specially found some seafarers to verify the nautical chart that you gave me. The result was that your nautical chart was flawless and perfect. With this detailed map and the compass, this king is even more confident about going out to sea this time. This is all thanks to you, brat. How about this? If you have any difficulties in the future, come and tell this prince. If this prince can help, this prince will definitely do his best to help. Li Xiaogong stroked his half-inch beard and said straightforwardly. Li Zishuan was overjoyed. This was more like it. After working so hard for so long, he finally received some returns. Hee. Then this little one would like to thank your highness. I wish your highness a triumphant return in advance. Li Zishuan cupped his hands and said with a smile. It was not easy to gain the friendship of a prince. It was equivalent to gaining another backing. Should I go in or not? But what should I say when I go in? Yongle Lane. Meng Wenhao stood opposite the Li residence. Looking at the tall walls, he was somewhat hesitant. In the morning, he felt too depressed at home. He originally planned to go to any lane to see how little Yuer was doing. On the way, he passed by Yongle Lane. He did not know what he was thinking, but he unexpectedly walked in and stood beside the Li residence. He looked into the distance and hesitated. Hee, then take care, your highness. This little one will go to Murky Mountain to see you off tomorrow. While Meng Wenhao was hesitating, a burst of laughter came from the front door of the Li residence. Then two people came out. One was Li Zishuan, and the other was a middle-aged man with a noble aura. Meng Wenhao had never seen him before. Ha, that's fine. See you tomorrow on Murky Mountain. The middle-aged man laughed and got into a luxurious carriage parked in front of the door. Then the carriage started and gradually went away. Wenhao, why are you standing here? Are you here to see your master? Why don't you come in? Li Zishuan was about to turn back to the house when he inadvertently glanced at Meng Wenhao at the entrance of the alley. He asked curiously. Meng Wenhao was shocked and panicked. He was so focused on watching Li Zishuan and the middle-aged man talking that he forgot to avoid Li Zishuan's sight. Now that he was discovered, he could only bite the bullet and go over to reply. But the strange thing was that he clearly saw Li Zishuan and didn't shout, but his voice traveled so far. It was really strange. Yes, sir. This student is just passing by. Meng Wenhao came in front of Li Zishuan and stammered. The corners of Li Zishuan's mouth curled into a meaningful smile, and then he looked at Meng Wenhao and said with a smile, since you're just passing by and I've coincidentally bumped into you, then why don't you go in and have a seat? This isn't a dragon's pool or a tiger's den. Wenhao, why are you so afraid? No, this student isn't afraid. I'm just afraid of disturbing sir. Meng Wenhao hurriedly explained. It's good that you aren't afraid. Come in, I also have something to tell you. Li Zishuan didn't wait for Meng Wenhao's reply. He flicked his sleeves and turned to enter the courtyard. Meng Wenhao opened his mouth, but didn't have time to say anything. He could only obediently follow in. He was also very curious about what Li Zishuan wanted to tell him. Chapter 301. Meng Wenhao had just followed Li Zishuan into the front hall of the west courtyard when he smelled a faint fragrance of spices. Following that, he felt a trace of refreshing coolness. He looked around and found that there was actually a basin of ice placed in each of the four corners of the room. Above the wooden basins, there was still a trace of cold air. Meng Wenhao couldn't help but sigh in his heart at Li Zishuan's extravagance. This was the first time he entered the Li residence's interior. When he came to the Li residence before, Li Zishuan received him in the pavilion in the courtyard. He couldn't help but take a few more glances. There was a large chair made of lacquered red peach wood, a few seats that were relatively simple but still couldn't hide the magnificence of the carved materials, a small square table with a porcelain pot decorated with flowers and birds, and a few small porcelain cups with the same flower decorations. A table, a chair, a table, and a stool. The furnishings were ingenious. The entire room revealed a sense of luxury and nobility. Sit. Although Li Zishuan didn't stare at Meng Wenhao, he had been paying attention to him from the corner of his eyes. He came to the vermilion chair at the head of the hall, sat down, and laughed. "Thank you very much, sir." Stimulated by the fragrance of the spices and the coolness of the ice, Meng Wenhao's heart gradually calmed down and wasn't as flustered as before. "Here, let me tell you a piece of good news first. Congratulations on getting 101 points in this month's examination, first place in the entire academy." Li Zixuan didn't beat around the bush at all and directly said, "Ah." The main reason Meng Wenhao came today was to inquire about the results of this examination. Although he felt that this examination was not bad, and he was lucky enough to get first place, but when it really came down to it, he realized that he was not mentally prepared in this aspect at all. Hearing this, he could not help but be stunned. Immediately after, he was hit by such a huge surprise that he almost fainted. His lips trembled a little. He wanted to say something, but nothing came out. His young heart was like a pot of fire that was burning up, hot and warm. Li Zixuan smiled and didn't say anything to interrupt. He just leisurely drank his wine while waiting for Meng Wenhao to wake up from the surprise. Meng Wenhao took a few deep breaths and suppressed the fanatical excitement in his heart. He looked at Li Zixuan and asked, "Sir, when you were outside the door, you said that you had something to do with me. Is it about this?" "Yes," Li Zixuan said casually. Meng Wenhao choked for a moment and then asked, "Sir, if I remember correctly, this is the total score of the monthly examination. Should be 100 points. But why did I get 101 points? Could it be that you have remembered wrongly?" "Haha, of course." Li Zixuan smiled and then went to the back room to take out Meng Wenhao's test paper. He said, "I think that you answered the last question very well. Your thinking is very comprehensive. Of course, you wrote 2 answers in the end, which also shows that you are very courageous. In the last question, in the whole school, there are only 5 people who can consider the cost of labor. Not only did they consider the cost of labor, but you were also the only one who came up with the correct answer. I calculated that there are a total of 10 people who answered the last question correctly. Except for you, the other 9 people all answered 197, and your answer was 197 or 200. Wenhao, your thinking is very comprehensive. What's commendable is that not only can you ask questions, but you also have the courage to put it into practice. I admire you very much, so I gave you an extra point. Anyway, I'm not afraid of you being proud." Huh. In his previous life, there were 2 correct answers to the last question of the monthly exam. The only point of contention between the 2 answers was whether or not the 30 copper coins that Boss Wong should have received from this transaction should be included in the loss. The various experts on the internet all had their own opinions, each saying that they were right, while the others saying that they were right. In order to avoid a debate, when Li Zixuan set the question, he simply decided on 2 answers. He didn't expect Meng Wenhao to be so daring as to write down both answers. Li Zixuan admired this courage from the bottom of his heart. After all, if he were in Meng Wenhao's shoes, he wouldn't have dared to play around like this. "So that's how it is," Meng Wenhao suddenly understood and muttered to himself. After he handed in the test paper yesterday, he regretted it for a while. He was afraid that because of his meddling, he wouldn't get a point for the last question. He didn't expect that in the end, he would get an extra point. Li Zixuan laughed and said, "Haha, Wenhao, don't be so agitated. Since you were lucky enough to get first place in this monthly examination, what I said before still counts. After classes officially start in 2 days, I will announce this time's results to the public. At that time, you can bring your family to the Drunken Immortal restaurant. Feel free to order whatever you want to eat. I'll treat you." "Wow, little Xian, you're treating? Then I want to go too." At this moment, Cheng Chumo's voice came from outside the room. Following that, they saw this fool swagger in, followed by San Bao, who had a bitter expression on her face. San Bao pointed at herself and was about to explain something when Li Zixuan waved his hand and laughed. "All right, you don't have to explain. I know. You can leave now." How could he not know Cheng Chumo's personality? Other than the first few times he came to the Li residence and had someone announce his arrival, which other time didn't he swagger indirectly? This personality that didn't know how to be polite was very similar to that little fatty Li Tai. Yes, young master. San Bao saw that Li Zishuan's tone was amiable and didn't seem to be angry. He heaved a sigh of relief and quickly left. Chumo. Chung Chumo had taken care of Meng Wenhao in the School of Mathematics. So Meng Wenhao quickly stood up and greeted Chung Chumo. Chung Chumo smiled and nodded at Meng Wenhao in greeting. Chonyo, I haven't seen you come over to play recently. Why did you come over just because we talked about food? Li Zishuan joked with a smile. Ever since he started teaching at the Imperial College and became Chung Chumo's teacher, this fellow didn't come over to play with him. Perhaps this was the natural fear students had for their teachers. Li Zishuan felt that it was a pity. Chung Chumo was his first close friend after transmigrating. If he lost this friendship because of this, he would feel that it was a pity. Ahem. Who said that? I didn't come over to eat today. I just happened to hear it. Chung Chumo explained awkwardly, then sat down on a chair beside Li Zishuan. TSK, Xiaoxian, the chairs in your house are still the most comfortable. It's a pity that they aren't sold outside. Otherwise, I would have asked my father to buy a set. This fellow leaned against the back of the chair and didn't forget to exclaim, Hee, if Uncle Chung really likes this chair, I can ask the workshop to make another batch. It won't take much effort, but it's only you who wants it, not Uncle Chung, so I think we should just forget about it. Li Zishuan didn't want to alienate this friendship. He didn't put on airs in front of Chung Chumo and spoke as casually as before. Xiaoxian, you're not a good friend. Chung Chumo said angrily. Haha. All right, let's get down to business. Chonyo, why are you here today? Li Zishuan laughed and asked, no longer teasing him. What else can I be here for? I'm just here to ask old Chung how he did in the exam and whether he would enter the role of shame. Chung Chumo sat up straight and looked at Li Zishuan. Although Chung Chumo didn't care about his results, he didn't want him to enter the role of shame and embarrass the Chung family. Chapter 302. Oh, so, Chonyo, you're here to ask about my results. Li Zishuan felt as if the sun had risen from the west when he heard that Chung Chumo was here to ask about his results. The son of the devil incarnate actually cared about his results? Yeah, Xiaoxian, tell me, did I get out of the role of shame? Chung Chumo asked anxiously. Li Zishuan glanced at Chung Chumo and then looked at Meng Wenhao with a strange expression. They were both his students, but one of them was here to ask if he got first place, and the other was here to ask if he got out of the bottom 5. This was really, ahem, let me think about it. Oh, I remember, Chonyo, you got 59 points this time. Not bad. You're already in the middle of the School of Mathematics. Li Zishuan's insane mental strength was not for show. With just a thought, the results of the monthly test appeared in his mind. He looked at it and found Chung Chumo's results and ranking. Really? Huh, that's great. My dad has nothing to say now. Chung Chumo was very excited when he heard it and shouted loudly. However, after a while, he suddenly reacted and said unhappily, That's not right. Why is it only 59 points? Xiaoxian, we have such a good relationship. Can't you give me more points? Don't worry, I won't be proud if you give me more points. Puffed. Ahem. Meng Wenhao almost choked to death when he heard this. There was no other reason, but because of what Chung Chumo said. Li Zishuan had just told him that. Today, he had seen the strange relationship between Chung Chumo and Li Zishuan. Both of them had a similar style of speaking. Li Zishuan was also speechless. Now it seemed that his previous worries were unnecessary. Chung Chumo, this idiot, did not alienate this friendship because of the teacher-student relationship. This joker was still as shameless as before when he played with treasures. Oh, now that I think about it, Ugly Bull, you forgot to deduct a few points from your test paper. So you can only get 50 points. You're not just 1 point away from 60 points. You can't expect me to give you another 10 points, right? Li Zishuan shrugged, pretending to be helpless. Chow, little Xian. I've never seen someone as shameless as you. Chung Chumo stomped his feet and said angrily. Bang! You still have the guts to call others shameless. Li Zishuan casually tossed a teacup to Chung Chumo, who was already prepared. He stretched out a hand and caught it firmly. Haha, Just kidding, just kidding, don't take it seriously. Chung Chumo laughed dryly. Then he suddenly sighed and said, that's right. Sigh. Actually, little Xian, you can also see that I'm not cut out for studying. The fleet heading south is going to set off tomorrow. If it wasn't for my father, I would have definitely gone with Uncle Li and the others. The vast sea, free and unfettered. This is where I, Chung Chumo, should go. Huh? Li Zishuan could hear the loneliness in his words and couldn't help but feel a little uncomfortable. The atmosphere in the room also became a little quiet. Ugly Bull, how's your swimming? After a while, Li Zishuan broke the silence and asked, I'm not good at swimming. Chung Chumo's face turned red, and he scratched his head awkwardly. F***CK, you're not good at swimming, and you still want to go south with the prince? Why don't you go and ask the prince if he wants you? Li Zishuan's face was as if he had just been F***ed. It turned out that he had worried for this guy for so long for nothing. I don't know how to swim, but I can learn, Chung Chumo said unwillingly. Learn your ass. Li Zishuan waved his hand and didn't want to bother with this guy. He turned to Meng Wenhao and said, Wenhao, you actually came here today to check your score, right? Meng Wenhao heard Li Zishuan call him, and he quickly recovered from the explosive conversation between the two and answered honestly, Yes, sir. Well, since you have checked your score, then you can go back. The fleet will set off tomorrow, so you can go back and accompany your father. Wenhao, you don't have to worry too much. I've already asked Prince Hejian to send someone to keep an eye on your father's safety. Also, I know the owner of your father's boat company, and I've already sent someone to talk to him. He won't make things difficult for your father. Li Zishuan nodded and said, Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Hearing this, Meng Wenhao was pleasantly surprised. The big stone that had been hanging in his heart for a long time finally fell to the ground. He stood up excitedly and bowed to Li Zishuan to express his gratitude. No need, no need. Sit down. This is just a small matter. You are my student. Of course, I can't just sit by and do nothing when you are in trouble. Li Zishuan comforted him. Yes. Wenhao, you don't have to be like this. I was wondering why you were so depressed these days. So it's because of this matter. If you had told me earlier, I would have helped you. Chung Chumo was boasting shamelessly on the side. A good picture of a master and disciple was interrupted by this guy. Meng Wenhao was so amused by Chung Chumo that he couldn't continue to bow. He stood up, hesitated for a moment, and said to Li Zishuan, Sir, this student has one more thing to ask. If it is convenient for you, please agree. Li Zishuan nodded and said, Say it first. Meng Wenhao said awkwardly, This student wants you to advance the reward for the first place in this monthly exam. After saying that, Meng Wenhao was a little ashamed. Li Zishuan had helped him a lot before, and now he was still making these requests. He felt that he was pushing his luck. Could it be that Wenhao is afraid that I will renege on my debt? Li Zishuan asked with a smile. No. Meng Wenhao quickly explained, but before he finished, he was interrupted by Chung Chumo. Damn, Wenhao, you got first place again this time. That's awesome. In Xiaoshuan's words, you are so awesome. Chung Chumo's focus was always different from others. His first reaction was to marvel at Meng Wenhao's results. Shut up, you have a nerve to say that. Look at Wenhao. He always pursues first place. What about you? You always pursue to get out of the bottom. Look at you. Li Zishuan said angrily. So what? Wenhao is going to be the top scorer. I don't expect to be the top scorer. Chung Chumo curled his lips and said indifferently. Li Zishuan saw that this guy was like a dead pig that wasn't afraid of boiling water, so he didn't bother to say anything more. He looked at Meng Wenhao and said, Wenhao, continue. What are you thinking? Meng Wenhao continued to explain. Teacher, it's like this. I have always had a dream. I hope that one day I can take my parents and sister to the best restaurant in Chang'an City for a meal. I came from a small place and entered the Imperial College. In fact, my parents work harder than me. I want to repay them, but they never let me work for them. I can only study hard. Now that I finally have the chance to realize that dream, my father is going to go to sea. Therefore, I hope that I can redeem the reward for the first place in the monthly exam in advance. I can let my father drink the wine of his dreams before he goes to sea. Please grant my wish, teacher." After saying that, he bowed deeply to Lisa Schwan. Lisa Schwan was silent. Chung Chimo also stopped joking and became silent. "I promise you. Wenhao, get up. These are what you deserve. You don't have to beg me." Chapter 303. Meng Wenhao, why are you looking for me? Li Yu, who was in the editorial department of the Tang Daily, was racking her brains to write the news. When she heard that someone was looking for her, she came out and saw that it was Meng Wenhao. She couldn't help but be surprised. "No, nothing. I'm just here to see how you've been recently." Compared to the first time they met, when her clothes were tattered and her face was dirty, the current Li Yu could only be described as stunning. Her eyebrows were picturesque, her lips were red, her small face was like a goose egg, her thin body and her fiery red clothes fluttered in the wind. She was like a fairy that had descended from the heavens, elegant and otherworldly. She was completely different from the little beggar a few days ago. Meng Wenhao couldn't help but stare blankly at her, stuttering a little. Li Yu was the treasure in the hearts of his adoptive parents. She was afraid that she would melt in their mouths, fall in their hands, and touch in their arms. She had been doted on since she was young. Even though their family fled to Chuyun village and their lives weren't as rich as before, Fu Lingyan and Lu Yishua never stopped providing for Li Yu's daily necessities. It could be said that in the first 10 years of Li Yu's life, she didn't understand the suffering of the world at all. It wasn't until her adoptive parents passed away that she stumbled to Chong, and alone and tasted the hardships along the way. At that time, she was thankful to be able to get food to eat, so how could she have the time to dress up? Therefore, when Meng Wenhao met her for the first time, she was in such a terrible state. But now, the little girl had a high-paying job that countless people envied. Lisa Schwan even gave her an advance of 5 strings of money. After deducting the rent and household expenses, she was left with a large sum of money. Li Yu directly turned from a little beggar to a little rich woman. Now that she had money in her pocket, she naturally wouldn't treat herself unfairly. She dressed up and walked around, buying beautiful clothes and hair accessories whenever she saw something she liked. It was as if she had returned to her days as a little princess in Chuyun village. "Me? I've been doing well recently." Meng Wenhao, why are you blushing? Hee. Are you mesmerized by my beauty? Li Yu immediately noticed the unnatural expression on Meng Wenhao's face. She proudly spun around on the spot. Her fiery red dress was like a ball of fire, dancing in the wind, passionate and unrestrained. Cough, cough, of course not. Meng Wenhao coughed dryly, took 2 steps back, and flatly denied. Your face is getting redder and redder, and you're still denying it? That day, this lady said that the robber didn't have good eyesight. He only wanted to rob money and not women. At that time, you didn't believe me. Do you believe me now? Li Yu pointed at Meng Wenhao's red face and giggled. Meng Wenhao was speechless. He thought to himself that it was a good thing that the robber didn't have a good eye. If he did, you would have been in big trouble that day. All right, I won't tease you anymore. Tell me, why are you looking for me? I don't believe that you came here just to see me. Li Yu twirled the hair in front of her chest with her fingers and said with an expression that said, "I'm very smart, don't lie to me." Meng Wenhao scratched his head and said, "Also, I'm here to treat you to a meal. You treated me to Yangchun noodles before. Cough, although we didn't eat it, at least we became friends because of it." At this moment, he couldn't help but recall the frivolous words that Lisa Schwan had said in the morning at the Li estate. "Oh, that's right. Why don't you call Li Yu along as well? I think the 2 of you will be quite interesting together." Sure. It's rare for you to take the initiative to treat me to a meal. Tell me, what do you want to eat? Li Yu was quite surprised when she heard this. She thought for a while and agreed. Let's go to the Drunken Immortal restaurant. Wow. Drunken Immortal restaurant. Did I hear wrongly? Wenhao, did you get rich? Li Yu shouted excitedly. Although she had some assets now, she didn't dare to go to the Drunken Immortal restaurant, a meal that would cost at least 3 or 4 strings of money. No, it's because I got first place in this monthly exam, so gave me a reward. He said that I can bring my family and friends to the Drunken Immortal restaurant for free. We can order whatever we want to eat, as long as it's not a waste. When Meng Wenhao said, "You can bring your family," he paused for a while. He was afraid that Li Yu would misunderstand, so he quickly added the words "and friends." Li Yu didn't know the rules of the mathematics school, so she didn't suspect anything. She just exclaimed, "Wow, Wenhao, you're amazing. There are so many talents in the Imperial College, and you actually got first place." Meng Wenhao was very happy to be praised by such a beautiful girl. He said embarrassedly, "I only got first place in the mathematics school, not in the entire Imperial College." "Little you don't talk nonsense. That's still very amazing. But is it appropriate for an outsider like me to go when Sir's treating your family to a meal?" The mischievous Li Yu became shy at this moment, which was rare. "There's nothing inappropriate about it. Not only my family, but Sir and his friends will also go," Meng Wenhao explained. "Oh, okay. I'll go to the Drunken Immortal restaurant after I'm done." Li Yu was relieved when she heard that Li Zixuan would also go and that she wasn't the only outsider. Although she looked like she didn't care about anything on the surface, she still had a sense of propriety in her heart. She knew what to do and what not to do. "Mom, you don't have to cook for lunch. I'll treat you to a big meal at the Drunken Immortal restaurant." Meng Wenhao came back from the workshop and saw his mother picking vegetables in the courtyard. He went up and said with a smile, Howard, do you have fever? Why are you talking nonsense? How can our family afford to go to the Drunken Immortal restaurant?" Meng Wenhao's mother hurriedly put down the vegetables in her hands and got up to touch Meng Wenhao's forehead. Meng Wenhao didn't know whether to laugh or cry as he took away his mother's hand and said, "Mom, I don't have a fever, and I'm not talking nonsense. I went to Sir's house this morning, and he said that I got first place in the monthly exam. According to the previous rules of the Institute of Mathematics, the top scorer can bring his family to the Drunken Immortal restaurant for free. I discussed it with Sir and decided to have this meal at noon today. So Mom, you, Dad, and Yaya, quickly pack up and get ready to go." "Really?" Meng Wenhao's mother widened her eyes in surprise. She wasn't greedy. She just enjoyed the honor. "Really, Mom, quickly go," Meng Wenhao said again, helplessly. That's great. Darling, Howard got first place in the exam. Quickly pack up. We're going to the Drunken Immortal restaurant for lunch." After getting confirmation, Meng Wenhao's mother reacted and ran into the house excitedly, shouting as she ran. Chapter 304. Howard, isn't it inappropriate for us to do this? Sir Li has taught you a lot, and we're here to ask him to treat us to a meal. Isn't that a little unreasonable? Meng Wenhao's family of 4 arrived at the Drunken Immortal restaurant in the East City. Seeing the bustling place, Father Meng was an honest man. Thinking that Li Zixuan was going to treat them to a meal out of his own pocket, he felt a little guilty, so he hesitated. Yaya didn't understand the ways of the world, but when she heard her father's words, she felt that her luxurious lunch was going to be ruined. The little girl raised her head and looked at Meng Wenhao, hoping that her brother could change her father's mind. Sure enough, Meng Wenhao didn't disappoint her. "Dad, this is the system set by our School of Mathematics. Even if I don't go to the Drunken Immortal restaurant for this meal, Sir won't agree. Sir won't go back on his word for this little bit of money." Howard, you're right. Since that's the case, let's go in quickly. Don't let Sir Li wait too long. Father Meng agreed after hearing his son's analysis and felt that this was indeed the case. Yaya heard this, and her little face immediately bloomed with a smile. Meng Wenhao smiled, pulled his little sister, and walked towards the Drunken Immortal restaurant with his parents. "Little you, you're here?" In a private room on the 4th floor of the Drunken Immortal restaurant, Li was personally let in by manager Lu. After all, the 4th floor was usually not open to the public. Li wouldn't be able to enter without someone leading the way. Li Zixuan looked at the splendidly dressed Li Yu, who was pretty and cute, as if she was a different person. His eyes lit up as he greeted her with a smile. Greetings, sir." Li Yu pursed her lips and smiled. She walked gracefully in front of Li Zixuan and bowed to Li Zixuan. Since the first time she met Li Zixuan, She had been calling him Mr. Li Zixuan like Meng Wenhao. Even though she was working for Li Zixuan now, she couldn't change the way she addressed him. Haha, come, little you-er. Let me introduce you. This is Cheng Chumo, the eldest son of Duke Lu's family. This is Qin Huayu, the eldest son of Duke Yi's family. This is Yuqi Baolin, the eldest son of General Yuqi's family. They are also in-house schoolmates. Now that someone was treating him to a meal, the thick-skinned Cheng Chumo naturally wanted to join in on the fun. Li Zixuan didn't refuse. He thought about it, then asked someone to invite Qin Huayu and Yuqi Baolin over to another table. Their families had always been close, so it wasn't a bad idea for them to meet up occasionally and get to know each other better. When Li Yu heard Li Zixuan's introduction, she was shocked. Cheng Yaojin, Qin Xiong, and Yuqi Jingde were all too famous. It was hard for her not to have heard of them. She didn't expect that she would be lucky enough to meet the descendants of these three famous generals today. Li Yu greets young Master Cheng, young Master Qin, and young Master Yuqi. Li Yu bowed to the three of them. Miss Li doesn't need to be so courteous. Just be casual. Little Xian has already told us about how you outsmarted the villains and punished the unscrupulous merchants. I admire Miss Li's wit. Qin Huayu politely returned the greeting. Huayu is right. No need to be so courteous. Yuqi Baolin wasn't good with words. As the saying goes, the more one talks, the more mistakes one will make. He could only agree. Young Master Qin is joking. Those things were just Li Yu's previous playful actions. It's nothing serious. Li Yu said, humbly. Li Zixuan rubbed his eyes. He suspected that this little girl in front of him was a fake Li Yu. The Li Yu he knew was clearly a willful, eccentric little girl. When did she become such a virtuous lady? It seems like this little girl could be both a spoiled lowly and a virtuous lady. She really was a little beauty with 100 transformations. Meng Wenhao had picked up a treasure. TSK. Wenhao's taste is not bad. Cheng Chumo had obtained more information from Li Zixuan. He pinched his chin and smiled as he looked at Li Zixuan for a moment and muttered in a somewhat improper manner. Li Yu didn't hear it clearly, but Li Zixuan's hearing was good. After he heard it, he glared at Cheng Chumo. He really didn't know how to chat. Who would joke with a girl like this? It seems like this guy was destined to be a single dog for life. Little you sit here for a while. When Wenhao and the others arrive, you can go and eat with them. Mister, you not go to eat with them? Li Yu was dumbfounded. We're not going. There are so many people at the table. Li Zixuan shook his head and said, Then, mister, I'm not going either. I'll just eat here. Li Yu hesitated. We're all men here. Why are you, a little girl, joining in the fun? What's wrong? Our fearless little Yu also knows how to be shy? Li Zixuan joked. Of course not. Who's shy? Young Master Meng, this way please. Yes, this is the room. The four of you can eat here. My young master and a few of his friends are next door. He'll be here in a while. Meng Wenhao and the others arrived at the drunken, immortal restaurant. After they explained their identities, Manager Lu personally led them to the room next to Li Zixuan's. Thank you, Manager. Meng Wenhao politely cupped his hands and said, You're welcome, young Master Meng. You're an important guest that my young master specially instructed. Just tell him what you want to eat. I'll take my leave first. Okay. Take care, Manager. Brother, Yaya wants to eat nibbled chicken. After Manager Lu left, Yaya pulled Meng Wenhao's sleeve and said greedily. Nowadays, Nod Chicken was already a household name in China. In the past, Yaya could only listen to those rich kids describe how delicious Nod Chicken was, and then she would drool at the side. Now, after coming to the birthplace of Nod Chicken, how could the little girl hold back? Okay, I'll let Yaya eat nibbled chicken today. You can eat until you're full. Meng Wenhao rubbed the little girl's ponytail and smiled. By the way, Dad, do you want to drink Immortal Drunken Wine? Drunken Immortal Restaurant's most famous is Immortal Drunken Wine. Do you want a liter? Meng Wenhao looked at his father and asked. Ever since Father Meng entered the Drunken Immortal Inn, he had been in a daze. The Drunken Immortal Inn's extravagance and Manager Lu's respectful attitude had given him a huge mental impact. He never thought that a poor and pedantic man like him would actually have the opportunity to come to such a luxurious place and even receive such respect from the manager. He felt like he was dreaming. He had given birth to a good son. All of this was because of his son. Father Meng sighed at his heart more than once. Howard, what did you say? Father Meng woke up and asked when he vaguely heard his son calling him. Meng Wenhao had no choice but to repeat himself. Father Meng hurriedly shook his head and said, No, no, no. Dad heard that a mortal drunken wine costs 5 rounds a liter. It's very expensive. Although Lord Li is treating us to a meal, we can't not be generous and ask for such expensive things. Haha. Uncle Meng, you don't have to worry. Just order if you want to drink. I don't care about this bit of money. Since we're here, we have to eat and drink well. Otherwise, wouldn't we be wasting the opportunity that Wenhao fought so hard for? At this moment, a burst of hearty laughter came from outside. Following that, Li Zixuan walked in with Li Yu. When Li Zixuan and Li Yu came in, Manager Liu personally served them while sending a servant to inform Li Zixuan. When Li Zixuan heard the news, he walked over with Li Yu and happened to hear Father Meng's declining words. Chapter 305. Sir. When Meng Wenhao saw Li Zixuan enter, he quickly stood up and bowed. Then he turned to his parents and said, Father, Mother, this is my teacher in the School of Mathematics. Meng Wenhao's father was shocked. He didn't expect his son's teacher to be so young. He secretly thought that the son of a rich family was indeed not someone his small family could compare with. He was so young, and yet he had the ability to become a teacher in the Imperial College. Meng Dachuan greets Lord Zhu. Zhu Qin greets Lord Zhu. Meng Wenhao's father and mother quickly came over and bowed to Li Zixuan. As a commoner of the lower class, they had a natural fear of the upper-class aristocrats. They had never come into contact with such a high-ranking official, so they were even more reserved. Haha, you don't have to be so polite. Take a seat. Li Zixuan quickly walked over and helped the two of them up. He said in a warm voice, You two gave birth to a good son. Haha, this banquet is an opportunity that Wenhao fought for himself. Since you are here, don't think about saving money for me. Eat and drink as much as you can. If you don't eat well, I will be unhappy. This is what you deserve. Meng Wenhao's father and mother heard this and were inexplicably excited. They stepped forward and said, Thank you, Lord Zhu. No need. Wenhao, is this your little sister? Li Zixuan smiled and waved his hand. Suddenly, he saw Yaya hiding behind Meng Wenhao and looking at him timidly. Yes, sir. Come, Yaya, come and greet sir. Meng Wenhao quickly pulled Yaya out and said. Before Meng Wenhao's mother came, she had dressed the little girl up. At this moment, Yaya's hair was neatly combed. Although the clothes on her body weren't luxurious or expensive, they were still neat and tidy. At least there weren't too many patches. But even so, the little girl was too thin and looked malnourished. It was very distressing to look at her. Yaya greets Lord Zhu. When a little girl saw that everyone was looking at her, she couldn't help but feel nervous, uneasy, and shy. She carefully took 2 steps forward and bowed to Li Zixuan and said weakly, Little sister is called Yaya. She's so cute. But Yaya still needs to eat more in the future. Right, what's Yaya's favorite food? Li Zixuan could see the wariness and restraint in the little girl's eyes. He squatted down and tried to use a gentle tone to look into Yaya's eyes. However, with his current appearance, it was unknown whether he would be misunderstood as a wretched uncle who was trying to kidnap a lowly. Oh, Yaya wants to eat the gnawed chicken. Perhaps Li Zixuan's appearance was very deceptive. Hearing this, Yaya tilted her head and thought for a moment before replying in a crisp voice. The Drunken Immortal restaurant has so many bites of chicken. How many bites of chicken can Yaya eat? 3 portions, no. 5 portions. Yaya looked at Li Zixuan, gesturing there, and her mouth couldn't help but drool. She licked her lips and replied, Good. Yaya, you have to keep your word. You have to eat 5 servings, okay? Only by eating more can Yaya grow up to be as beautiful as this big sister. Do you understand? Li Zixuan waved his hand to stop Meng Dachuan, who wanted to come over and scold Yaya. He then pointed at Li Yu and said to Yaya. Yaya looked at Li Yu, who was dressed up like a little fairy. Her eyes revealed an envious gaze. She firmly nodded and said, Yaya must eat more. In the future, I must grow up to be as beautiful as this big sister. When Li Yu heard the two people praising her beauty, the corner of her mouth couldn't help but curl into a beautiful arc. It was obvious that she was very happy in her heart. Yaya is so obedient. Li Zixuan patted Yaya's head with satisfaction. He stood up and looked at Father Meng and Mother Meng and said, Cough, since that's the case, I won't disturb your family's meal. Oh, this lady is Li Yu. She can be considered as half a disciple of mine. She is also a very good friend of Wenhao. She hasn't seen Wenhao for a long time. Today, she came over to eat together and reminisce about the past. Li Zixuan almost forgot the purpose of this visit. He quickly pushed Li Yu out and introduced her. As for how much of his words were nonsense, only Meng Wenhao and Li Yu knew. Greetings to uncle and aunt. Li Yu knew that it was time for her to go on stage. She gracefully stepped forward and bowed. Good. No need to be so polite. No need to be so polite. Mother Meng's eyes lit up. She enthusiastically stepped forward and held Li Yu's hand with a smile. Li Zixuan gave Meng Wenhao and Li Yu a look that said, This is all I can do for you two. Then he bid farewell to Father Meng and Mother Meng and left the room. Sigh. As a teacher, not only do I have to impart knowledge to my students, I also have to matchmake them. TSK. Li Zixuan thought to himself. How long has it been since the last time we gathered? Today I, Old Cheng, am going to drink to my heart's content. In another room, Cheng Chimo poured a glass of drunken immortal for everyone, except for Li Zixuan, of course, and laughed heartily. Li Zixuan knew very well that the excuse of not gathering for a long time was just an excuse. Most importantly, he did not have to force them to pay for the food and drinks today. Chonyo is right. Huayu, Baolin, it's rare for us to gather together. Let's eat and drink to our heart's content. To Li Zixuan, money was just a bunch of numbers. He did not even know how much money he had. Of course, he had to be generous when it came to treating his friends to a meal. Thank you, little Xian, for your hospitality. Here's a toast to you. Qin Huayu raised his glass and laughed. Here's a toast to little Xian too. Yuchi Baolin also raised her glass and joined in the fun. In the School of Mathematics, they had a teacher-student relationship with Li Zixuan. But outside the School of Mathematics, they were good friends again. All right then, here's a toast to you too. But little Xian, you're drinking a soft drink. It's not strong at all. Cheng Chimo grumbled unhappily. I didn't want to show my alcohol tolerance. I was afraid that it would hurt you. Chonyo, come, cheers. Li Zixuan laughed heartily as he drained the cup in one gulp. Of course, what he said just now was not completely nonsense. The weather had been hot recently, and he was addicted to drinking cold soft drinks. Slowly, he figured out how to control the true qi in his body to burn the alcohol so that it would evaporate and be expelled from the body. This thing sounded quite mysterious, but it was not difficult for martial artists who had entered the qi transformation realm. First, it was because their understanding of martial arts and the meridians of the human body had already surpassed the scope of ordinary people. Second, martial artists in the qi transformation realm had gone through the stage of refining energy into qi. The quantity and quality of true qi available in their bodies were far from what martial artists in the qi drawing realm and the body refining realm could compare with. Therefore, controlling true qi to burn alcohol was really easy for them. When Li Zixuan was bored out of his mind, he thought of those wuxia cultivation novels from his previous life, where the protagonists used their internal energy to force alcohol. That was why he tried it out of curiosity. He didn't expect that he would succeed. Although the principle of forcing alcohol was different, the final goal was achieved. TSK, good. Little Xian, stop bragging. You should drink your soft drink. Cheng Chimo put down his glass and curled his lips in disbelief. Li Zixuan could not be bothered to argue with him. There was no need to compete between brothers. He smiled and shook his head. minding his own business as he ate. Although Qin Huayu could drink, he was not good at it. After drinking a glass of drunken immortal, his face had already begun to turn red. Cheng Chimo looked at him and finally said to Yuchi Baolin, since both of them are not good at drinking, then Baolin, let's have a drinking game. Okay. Yuchi Baolin hurriedly agreed happily. Chapter 306. You two are good brothers. 3 stars illumination. 4 happiness wealth. 5 champions. 6 smooth. 7 coincidences. 8 immortals longevity. 9 consecutive rings. All of them. Ha, Baolin, you lost. Drink. In the private room, Cheng Chimo slammed the table and shouted excitedly. Burp! Let's drink. Who's afraid of you? Yuchi Baolin was bigger than Cheng Chimo, but she wasn't as smart. She always lost when she played with Cheng Chimo, and her drunken immortal level was higher. Therefore, after a while, Yuchi Baolin was a little tipsy and couldn't speak clearly. Li Zixuan and Qin Huayu were almost full. They put down their chopsticks and sat at the side to watch the show with interest. This was the second time Li Zixuan saw the ancient version of the finger-guessing game. The first time was also in this place. That was when the gnawed chicken had just come out. Cheng Chimo and Li Chengxian were playing finger-guessing games here. However, Li Zixuan was accompanying Lan, and Changle to tell stories, so he didn't pay much attention. Therefore, this was the first time Li Zixuan seriously observed the ancient version of the finger-guessing game. The finger-guessing game was also known as finger-guessing, 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 and finger-guessing. It was a game that people played to liven things up when drinking. It originated from the Han Dynasty. When drinking, 2 people stretched out their fingers at the same time and each said a number. Whoever said a number that matched the total number of fingers stretched out by both parties would be the winner. The loser would drink. There was a word from 1 to 10, which was collectively known as the fist word. The fist words were generally different from place to place. Later, the finger-guessing game developed into a family, and the method of execution became an independent system. Empty fist, inner fist, 5 poison fist, 5 elements order, 7 stars order, and 3 victories order were all in this category. Come again. As the finger-guessing game required shouting, it was easy to get excited in this kind of atmosphere. At this moment, Cheng Chimo was in a state of excitement. This guy had forgotten his purpose of coming here today to freeload. Good, again. Yuchi Baolin was tongue-tied, but she still wanted to continue. Li Zixuan shook his head. He might as well let the 2 of them play to their heart's content. He and Qin Huayu started chatting on the side. What is Lord Li doing? Why is it so lively? On the other side of the private room, Mother Meng heard the commotion and couldn't help but ask. Judging from their voices, it seems to be Bao Lin and Huayu. They must have come with Sir. Meng Wenhao listened attentively and replied, Yes, it's the young masters of Duke Lu, Duke Yi, and Duke Yi. I just saw them over there. Li Yu, who was sitting beside Mother Meng, chimed in. Since he is the son of the Duke, how high is his official rank? Mother Meng had never been to school, nor had she seen much of the world. She thought that the son of the Duke was also a high-ranking official. Mother, they're still studying in the Imperial College. They don't have an official rank, so they can't be considered officials. That's right, Auntie. These young masters from the High Duke's family are Wenhao's classmates. So that's how it is. Little you know so much. No wonder Lord Li accepted you as his disciple. Today, Li Yu is going to be a lady to the end. Her words were appropriate and her actions were generous. Meng Wenhao didn't recognize her anymore. However, this made Meng Wenhao's mother very satisfied. She looked at Li Yu with admiration in her eyes, but there was also a trace of inexplicable meaning. Father Meng was greedily drinking the drunken immortal at the side. He didn't have time to pay attention to their conversation. From the moment he took the first sip of the drunken immortal, he had already forgotten the expensive price of this wine. He also didn't remember that he couldn't bear to drink it just now. The wine and meat passed through his intestines. The spiciness of the white wine and the sweetness of the mountain fruit exploded in Father Meng's taste buds. At that moment, he really felt as comfortable as a deity. No, he wouldn't exchange it for a deity. As for Yaya, she had transformed into a Taotai and was sweeping the goods like a whirlwind sweeping away the clouds. At first, the little girl ate 2 portions of chicken. Her mouth was full of oil, and she was very satisfied. There were bits of meat on her face from time to time. Li Yu, who was beside her, kept wiping her mouth with a handkerchief. After eating 2 servings of chicken, Yaya rubbed her stomach because she felt that she was already half full. She thought about how she told Li Zishuan that she wanted to eat 5 servings of chicken and grow up to be as beautiful as Li Yu in the future. The little girl's eyes flashed with a trace of determination and stubbornness. She started to attack the other 3 servings of chicken. However, the tragedy was that after a while, the waiter came up with 4 more dishes. They were red braised pork, red braised lion's head, dompa pork, and twice cooked pork. Just by smelling the fragrance, Yaya couldn't stand it. When she saw the others eating with relish, she could only eat the chicken at the side and watch helplessly. At this moment, the little girl's heart was filled with grievances. She had only heard people say that the chicken was delicious. Who would have thought that there was something more delicious than the chicken in the Drunken Immortal restaurant? Your Majesty, do you have something on your mind? Imperial Palace West Court, Empress's bedroom. Empress Zhongsun saw Li Er mechanically eating the food and staring blankly at the table, as if there was something rare on the table. She asked with some concern, I was thinking about the telegraph machine I saw a few days ago. Guanyin maid, don't you think that thing is strange? It's just a small iron box. Not only can it make a sound by itself, but it can also transmit the same sound dozens of miles away. It's really amazing. Li Er put down his bowl and chopstick side and said, So, Your Majesty is thinking about this. In fact, I also feel that this thing is quite amazing. Yesterday, when Li Xianan explained the principle of the telegraph machine, I didn't understand it very well. I don't know how this child thought of making this thing. Seeing that Li Er didn't seem to want to eat anymore, Empress Zhongsun took a clean bowl and scooped soup for Li Er while smiling. Hey, this kid, Li Er laughed, took the soup from Zhongsun, and said, I didn't understand much, but I understood the general meaning. From what he said, the reason why this telegraph machine can transmit signals so far is because of the process of electricity generating magnetism and magnetism generating electricity. I know about magnetism. Isn't it a magnet? But what is this electricity? Is it the thunder and lightning in the sky? Thunder and lightning? The thunder and lightning in the sky. We mortals can also create it? Zhongsun covered her mouth in surprise and said in surprise, Oh, who knows? This brat has too many secrets. Previously, I sent 100 riders to Mount Longhu and asked them to investigate what this brat and spiritual master Ling Su had experienced in the 8 years that they had disappeared, but they didn't find anything. They seemed to have evaporated from the world in those 8 years. In short, this kid is too mysterious. If it weren't for the fact that his family background is clean and he has no ambition, and that Shu Bao and Jijia think highly of him, I would have already killed him. After all, such a person with divine skills and unknown intentions will bring a lot of unknown dangers to the Tang Empire. If his skills are used by the foreign race, then the Tang Empire's situation will be even worse. Li Er said lightly as he drank the soup. He had killed countless people in his life. When he said that he wanted to kill Li Zishuan, there was no change in his expression, as if he was talking about a trivial matter. Your Majesty, from what I see, this child isn't like those evil people. He definitely won't do that kind of thing. Your Majesty, don't do something that will hurt your loved ones and make your enemies happy. It is the blessing of our Tang Empire that this child has such abilities. Chapter 307. Is Mei Guanyin pleading for that kid? In the bedchamber, Li Er asked casually as he leisurely drank his soup after listening to Empress Zhongsun's words. Empress Zhongsun was stunned and said this, I just don't want to see such a young talent die prematurely. My thoughts are all for the Tang Empire. Ahem, Mei Guanyin, you don't have to be nervous. I just said it casually and don't mean anything else. You and I have been husband and wife for more than a decade. How can I not trust you? Before Empress Zhongsun finished speaking, Li Er saw that something was wrong. He quickly put down the spoon in his mouth and interrupted her. Empress Zhongsun saw that Li Er's words didn't seem to be fake. Her heart warmed as she smiled and said, "Thank you for your trust, Your Majesty." "Huh." Li Er smiled and shook his head. Suddenly, he sighed and said, "Since I ascended the throne, I have always promoted talents." Needless to say, Li Zishuan is full of talent. Although his talents don't seem to belong to the mortal world, as long as he doesn't betray the country, I can tolerate him. The Tang Empire can also tolerate him. Now, I am worried about how to arrange for him. Empress Zhongsun blinked her beautiful eyes and asked curiously, "Your Majesty, isn't that child already the youngest official in the history of the Imperial College? Why are you still worried about this?" "You can't say that." Li Er shook his head and said with a complicated expression, "As the saying goes, make the best use of a person's talent. Since I have already decided to put Li Zishuan in an important position, I have to arrange a position for him that allows him to display his talents. But Mei Guanyin, look at the knowledge that kid is good at. Other than mathematics, physics, chemistry, electricity, electromagnetism, and so on. Who in the world has heard of these knowledge? How can the position of an official in the Imperial College allow him to display all that he has learned?" Hearing this, Empress Zhongsun's brows furrowed slightly. She thought for a moment and said, "Your Majesty's consideration is thorough. In that case, Li Zishuan is indeed not suited to stay in the directorate." Li Er rubbed the space between his eyebrows and sighed in annoyance. He is indeed not suitable to stay in the Imperial College. But there is an even more serious problem. This brat has learned many different things. Although we do not know where he learned all this knowledge, we are very sure that he is not from the Confucian school. Thus, even though we clearly know that his knowledge can strengthen the great Tang, we cannot give him too much support. Otherwise, if some of the great Confucians become dissatisfied and stir up trouble among the Confucians, the foundation of the country will be shaken. Empress Zhongsun thought about it in shock and said, "Your Majesty, is it really that serious?" "Of course." Li Er stood up and looked out the door. With his hand behind his back, he said, "Although Li Zishuan is currently teaching mathematics at the Imperial College, the content, methods, and systems that students study have all undergone earth-shattering changes. Moreover, these changes are constantly affecting other schools. He is already using the name of mathematics to develop his new school. No, this is a new study in the guise of mathematics. We're not the only one who has discovered this. Some of the professors at the Imperial College have also discovered this. We have previously heard from Kong Yingda that Shui Shanyu of the Imperial College has already requested to expel Li Zishuan from the Imperial College on the grounds of ruining the academic atmosphere more than once. Although Kong Yingda has sternly refused, it is said that Shui Shanyu has not given up and has the intention of further contacting the other great Confucians of the Imperial College to jointly write a petition. Shui Shanyu? I have heard of this person before. It is said that he is quite proficient in the Confucian classics. I thought that he was a person of profound righteousness. But why is he so unreasonable?" Zhongsun nodded and said with some confusion, "Profound righteousness? Ha! In the end, these people are just doing it for their own benefits." Li Er sneered and was unwilling to say too much on this topic. He only thought to himself, if we vigorously support Li Zishuan's new study, then I'm afraid that the tens of thousands of Confucian disciples in the world will become the current Shui Shanyu in order to maintain the orthodox position of the Confucian school. Empress Zhongsun was not stupid. She had just not thought of this for a moment. Once Li Er said this, she immediately understood. However, as the Empress, she knew that on this sensitive topic, she could only maintain her silence because the more she spoke, the more likely she would make mistakes. The room was silent for a moment. Li Er suddenly smiled and said, "Ha ha, Now, it seems that we were right to not have Chengxian go to the Imperial College School of Mathematics to study. Otherwise, there would definitely be more great Confucians who would not be able to sit still right now, right? When Lier said the words Great Confucian, he emphasized the syllables. He was probably dissatisfied with some people in his heart. Yes, as the heir to the throne, Chengxian's every action represents his majesty's attitude. If even he went to the School of Mathematics, the officials would definitely not agree. However, this is also difficult for Chengxian. I heard that not only does he have an extremely good relationship with Li Zixuan, but he is also very interested in Li Zixuan's new mathematics. He has always been studying the textbooks of the School of Mathematics in the Eastern Palace. Today, he is probably still studying the monthly exam papers that the School of Mathematics just went through. In addition, Chengxian would occasionally run to Qingke to ask questions. In this way, the relationship between the two brothers has improved quite a bit. When Empress Zhongsun heard Lier say this, she immediately began to feel sorry for her son. As the crown prince, he should sacrifice something for this. The problem now is, where should Li Zixuan be placed? Lier first smiled as if it was a matter of course. Then, when he thought of Li Zixuan, he began to frown. Why not ask Li Zixuan for his thoughts, Your Majesty? This child has always had a lot of ideas. I think he will have some ideas. Empress Zhongsun stroked the hair in front of her forehead and said, this is a good idea. Guanin's servant is indeed more intelligent than others. Lier's eyes flashed with a trace of brilliance as he said excitedly, Easter Market, Chen's noodle shop. Yes, it was the noodle shop that almost cheated Liu and Meng Wenhao last time. Tianhua, aren't you too stingy? You're treating me and Fei Chen to a meal at this small noodle shop? In front of the noodle shop, the three only seedlings of Jinyu Academy were sitting on the stools and waiting for the boss to serve the dishes. Oh no, it was the dishes. Then, Hua Hongyi looked at the terrible surroundings and couldn't help but complain. That's right, Tianhua, you're too unkind. This time, the Tang Daily gave you such good conditions. How much money will you earn from writing this novel? Moreover, today is the first time your novel is in the newspaper. It's fine if you don't treat us to Zuaishin restaurant to celebrate, but no matter what, you can't come to this broken noodle shop. Liao Feiqin also quickly agreed. Chen Tianhua's mouth twitched slightly. Zuaishin restaurant. His 1 month's remuneration was probably not even enough for the three of them to have a meal at Zuaishin restaurant. Feiqin, Hong, I haven't received my remuneration yet, right? The Tang Daily will only give me this month's remuneration next month. When I get my remuneration, I'll bring you to a good meal, but definitely not at Zuaishin restaurant. Moreover, the Yangchun noodles in this noodle shop are not bad either. Chen Tianhua was helpless. Tycoons were always used to be cheated. Dad, that pretty boy with a mole on his face outside, called our noodle shop a broken noodle shop. Do you want me to beat him up? Not far away, in the kitchen, Giant Baby complained to Boss Chun who was cooking noodles. Are you surprised? Are you surprised? After the dinner gathering, the swordsmen immediately wrote a chapter to calm themselves down. Therefore, the record of the swordsmen for 144 days did not break. Although I'm tired now, I'm still happy. Dear readers, seeing that the swordsmen are working so hard to update, can you come to QQ to read or subscribe to a few chapters on Qidian? Because I found a lot of students who read pirated versions, and some of the pirated versions are very interesting. If there's no author on it, I'll write it at the end, and the pirated readers won't be able to see it. Swordsmen drag their tired bodies to update every day. Don't tell me I can't exchange it for 20 cents a day from you guys. Chapter 308. What are you talking about? Dabao, don't cause trouble. Boss Chun, who was rolling out noodles, heard his son's silly words. His arm shook, and he almost crushed his fingers. He immediately said to Dabao angrily, ever since Li Zixuan caused trouble in his noodle shop, not only was his business not as good as before, but he was also scared out of his wits by Li Zixuan's martial arts. He used to think that with two giants at home, He didn't have to be afraid of some unruly and evil customers. But Li Zixuan taught him how to be a person through his abnormal martial arts value, so he didn't dare to be as arrogant as before. Oh, the Bao knows. The giant baby scratched his head. He was somewhat puzzled by his father's attitude, but he didn't dare to continue asking. Outside the noodle shop, Sai, I don't know how my Zhang Xiaohua's biography of cultivator is received. On the way here, we only heard people talking about a mortal's journey to immortality, but no one talked about my Zhang Xiaohua's biography of a cultivator. Hong E. Feichen, does this mean that my novel isn't popular? Chun Tianhua saw that Yang Chun's noodles hadn't come up yet. He recalled the scene on the way here and said worriedly, Tianhua, you're simply insatiable. The Tang Daily has already given you such a generous reward. Why aren't you satisfied? So what if your novel isn't popular? At most, you'll lose some readers who give you tips. But now, the money that the Tang Daily gives you is enough for you to live comfortably. Why do you have to be so stubborn? Liao Feichen didn't realize that he was almost beaten up by the giant baby because of his cheap mouth. He complained to Qin Tianhua with a speechless face. As he spoke, he suddenly realized something. He slammed the table and shouted, Oh, I understand, Tianhua. You want to compete with a mortal's journey to immortality, right? Why bother? Our two novels are both imitating a mortal's journey to immortality. It's very difficult to compare with it. Let's just focus on writing our own novel. Hearing this, Chun Tianhua's face was full of awkwardness. In his heart, he didn't want to surpass a mortal's journey, but he more or less hoped that his novel would be like a mortal's journey and receive the support and rewards of many readers. Tianhua, you've only released 3 chapters of your novel today. How could someone reward you so quickly? Even when the legend of a mortal's journey to immortality was first published in the newspapers, no one took it seriously either. For something like a novel, without a long period of accumulation, it was impossible to produce results. You need to calm down and write slowly. You can't rush it, or it will affect the quality of your work. Hua Hongyi was a mature and steady person. He hit the nail on the head and pointed out the crux of the problem. Brother Hong Yi is right. I've gone too far. Thank you, Hong Yi, for enlightening me. Hua Hongyi's words were like a wake-up call to Chun Tianhua. Chun Tianhua was stunned for a moment, then reacted. He cupped his hands and thanked Hua Hongyi. Yang Chun noodles are here. Please enjoy your meal. Boss Chun brought out 3 bowls of Yang Chun noodles on a tray and bowed to Hua Hongyi and the other 2 with a smile. Haha, let's eat noodles. No matter what. Thank you for your hospitality today, Tianhua. Hua Hongyi laughed. Yes. Let's eat noodles, hiss. This restaurant's Yang Chun egg noodles are so delicious. Liao Feichen was already starving. He cheered, picked up his chopsticks, and started eating. Chun Tianhua smiled helplessly. He wasn't in the mood to eat noodles now. He wanted to go back and write his novel in peace. I'm not drunk. Let me drink another cup. This immortal drunk is really good wine. Burp. Good wine. Drunken immortal restaurant. The banquet was over. Everyone was full, especially Yaya. The little girl was rubbing her stomach in pain. As for Father Meng, he was drunk and was throwing a tantrum. You're already so drunk and you're still not drunk? I told you to drink less, but you didn't listen. Come, get up, let's go home. Mother Meng pulled Father Meng's arm and shouted angrily. Auntie, why don't I hire a carriage to send Uncle Meng back? After all, Drunken Immortal Restaurant is quite far from Guyi Lane. After this banquet, Liu had become very familiar with Meng Wenhao's family. She quickly suggested. This, Mother Meng hesitated. Hiring a carriage would cost a lot of money. Haha, there's no need to hire a carriage. Drunken Immortal Restaurant has its own carriage. I'll ask Boss Liu to send someone to send you back later. At this time, Li Zixuan walked in with a smile. The banquet was over. Qin Huayu had already left with the drunk Cheng Chumo and Yuchi Baolin in the carriage. Thank you, Lord Zhu. Mother Meng was surprised and happy at the same time. She thought to herself that Meng Hao's teacher was not only kind, but also considerate of others. No wonder he could reach such a high position at such a young age. This kind of cultivation was not something that ordinary people like us could have. Thank you, sir. Meng Wenhao also came over and thanked him sincerely. Today was the happiest day of his life. Through his own efforts, he had finally brought his family to Drunken Immortal Restaurant. Furthermore, his family had received the respect that they deserved. He was now grateful to Li Zixuan from the bottom of his heart. Well, Wenhao, now that your wish has been fulfilled, you have to focus on your studies. As your teacher, I look forward to you getting first place in the next monthly exam. Li Zixuan patted Meng Wenhao's shoulder and smiled. I won't disappoint you, sir. Meng Wenhao replied confidently. He good. Wenhao, go find Boss Lu and ask him to arrange a carriage. Yes, sir. Meng Wenhao replied with a smile and went out. Little you, isn't it time for you to go back to the workshop? If you don't go back now, Steward Ma will probably come and ask me for you. Li Zixuan looked at the mischievous Li Yu and smiled. At the same time, he secretly felt that it was a pity that there were no televisions or cameras in this era. Otherwise, he really wanted to cultivate Li Yu into a little child star. Because of Li Yu's sweet appearance and her unrestrained and mischievous personality, it would be a pity if she did not become a star. Hee. Then I'll take Sir's carriage on the way. Li stuck out her tongue and smiled mischievously. Drunken Immortal Restaurant was in the northwest of Chang and City. Strange Interest Pavilion was in the northeast of Chang and City. If she did not borrow a carriage, she would probably have to walk for a long time. Anyway, there was a free ride. Why not take it? All right, let's go then. Li Zixuan smiled and turned to say goodbye to Mother Ming and Yaya. Then he left with Li Yu. Chapter 309. Lord Ju, His Majesty has decreed for you to enter the palace immediately for an audience. Li Zixuan's carriage had just entered Yongla Lane when a servant from the yellow door chased after him. San Bao, who was driving the carriage, hurriedly stopped Big White. Li Zixuan's heart skipped a beat. Could it be that Li Er had discovered that he had been idling around for the past 2 days? Was he here to settle scores with him? Old Li wouldn't be so petty, right? He lifted the curtains and jumped off the carriage. The servant from the yellow door also hurriedly got off his horse. Little eunuch, may I know why His Majesty is looking for me? Li Zixuan discreetly stuffed a few golden beans into the servant's mouth and asked with a smile. The earlier he knew Li Er's intentions, the earlier he could prepare. Lord Ju, I don't dare to accept this. Please take it back. I'm only here to pass on a message. I don't know why His Majesty is summoning you. It seemed like this was the first time the imperial eunuch had been sent out. He didn't even dare to take advantage of the situation. Li Zixuan smiled and didn't force him. He said, then please wait for a moment. I'll go back and change into my official uniform. I'll follow you into the palace. He was here to dine with his good brother today. Of course, he wouldn't wear his official uniform like a lunatic. Besides, his light scarlet official uniform wasn't very nice. Why should he wear it? However, it was still necessary to wear it to meet Li Er in the palace. His Majesty specifically said that Lord Ju can enter the palace immediately without changing into your official uniform. The servant from the yellow door added. Li Zixuan was speechless. Li Er was in a hurry to be reincarnated. Of course, he only dared to say that in his heart. He couldn't say it out loud. Then I'll follow you into the palace. Then he turned to look at San Bao and instructed, San Bao, send little you to the workshop and go straight home. Yes, young master. San Bao responded and hurried Big White toward any lane. Let's go. Li Zixuan turned around and said a few words before following the small yellow door to the Imperial Palace. The distance between Yongla Lane and the Imperial Palace was not far. Only about 3 to 4 Li Zixuan arrived outside the walls of the Imperial Palace in a short while. The little yellow gate led Li Zixuan through the Gate of Heaven. He passed through the Garter Gate, the Tai Chi Gate, the Zhuming Gate, the Yin and Yang Gate, and the Sweet Dew Gate. He went straight to the Sweet Dew Hall. Unlike the previous summons, Li Er chose to summon him at the Sweet Dew Hall. Li Zixuan was no longer a novice when he first entered the officialdom. He had crammed in a lot of basic knowledge about officialdom. Naturally, He knew that the emperor usually summoned his officials to the Taiji Palace or the Yin and Yang Palace. The Ganlu Palace was where Li Er studied in the inner palace and was rarely used to summon his officials. It seemed like Li Er wasn't looking for him for some trivial matter. The little yellow gate went in alone to announce the reply. Li Zexuan stood in the corridor outside the hall, waiting for the news. After a while, he heard a sharp voice from inside. Summon the Prince of Lantian County, Minister of the Imperial College, Li Zexuan, for an audience. Hearing this, Li Zexuan anxiously walked in with small steps. The Suite du Hall looked very simple, but every table, chair, table, and stool in the hall was decorated with ingenious ingenuity. The furnace in the room was burning with spices. Li Zexuan smelled it, but he couldn't tell what brand the spices were. Li Er sat upright on the dragon throne, wearing a bright yellow dragon robe. He didn't wear the sky-reaching crown that he wore during morning court. Instead, he used a purple and gold crown to tie up his hair. Li Er probably felt that the sky-reaching crown was too heavy. Li Zexuan silently criticized him. "Greetings, Your Majesty." When Li Zexuan walked in, Li Er was holding a book and reading it with great interest. It was as if he didn't notice that someone had walked in. Li Zexuan didn't care if Li Er really didn't see him or if he was pretending. He went forward and bowed. He guessed that Li Er was most likely pretending. Leaders all liked to pretend to be deep. Li Zexuan expressed that he understood, but he didn't want to play along with Li Er. He wanted to finish his work quickly and go home. "Rise. Have a seat." When Li Er heard the voice, he put down his book and raised his head. Of course, he was reading seriously just now. He wasn't pretending to be deep like Li Zexuan thought. He wasn't that bored. The fact that Li Er was able to succeed in the governance of Zhengguan was inseparable from his humility and diligence. "Thank you, Your Majesty." Li Zexuan was happy. Since he came in and had a seat, didn't that mean that Li Er wouldn't make things difficult for him today? 3 days ago, I asked you to hurry up and think of a way to improve the telegraph. How was it? How's the progress now? Li Zexuan had just sat down when Li Er asked. Li Zexuan shouted in his heart. It turned out that he was thinking too much just now. "Your Majesty, there's no progress." Li Zexuan wanted to fool him, but he couldn't fool him. Old Li had too many spies under him. He might have already known. Even though Li Er already knew the result, when he heard Li Zexuan's reply, he couldn't help but get angry. "Are you taking my words as a joke?" Li Zexuan heard Li Er raise his voice by an octave and knew that old Li was a little angry. However, he was already mentally prepared. "Your Majesty, that's not the case. With the current technology of Tang Dynasty, 20 to 30 li is the maximum distance that the telegraph can transmit. If we want to break through this limit, we need to create a new device, the triode. It can amplify the signal from a telegraph so that it can be transmitted further. However, the triode requires 2 new materials that I haven't found yet. Even if I find them, with the current technology of Tang Dynasty, it's very difficult to create them. On the other hand, regarding the problem of power supply, the power source that I currently use can only supply power on a small scale. If I want to achieve a large-scale power supply, I need to build a large generator and a container to store the power. I also need to build a huge power transmission line. To do this, in addition to a huge amount of financial and material resources, the most important thing is that I need a group of corresponding talents. Otherwise, I won't be able to do it alone. When Li Zexuan decided to quit, he already knew that he would be questioned by Li Er. He also had a draft of the relevant excuses. At this moment, he spoke one set of words after another. It seemed like he was really serious. Li Zexuan was a little confused by Li Zexuan's words. Although Li Zexuan had already said it more straightforwardly, he didn't know what the triode, generator, container to store the power, and so on were new terms. However, it still sounded very professional. Li Er frowned and thought for a while. He said, "What you said is not unreasonable. Let's not talk about this for now. I have another matter to discuss with you today." Chapter 310. We have another matter to discuss with you today. In the Suite du Hall. Hearing this, Li Zexuan's spirits were suddenly lifted. He thought to himself, Here comes the main topic. The things before should be just the appetizer. Otherwise, Lier wouldn't have called him here to talk. Here, take a look at this memorial first. Lier pulled out a yellow memorial from the dragon table in front of him. Zhao Song hurriedly took it and handed it to Li Zixuan. Li Zixuan didn't know what Lier was up to. He opened the memorial and started reading. He skipped the routine at the beginning and went straight to the main body. Today, this subject, Cui Shanyu, together with 7 professors from the Imperial Academy, and the 4 Gates Academies, will jointly impeach Li Zixuan, the Secretary of the Imperial Academy, for corrupting the academic atmosphere of the Imperial Academy, disrupting the teaching order of the Imperial Academy, and privately spreading and teaching miscellaneous studies. Your subjects do not deny that Li Sai has brought some positive changes to the Imperial College since he joined, such as the blackboard and chalk. However, merits are merits, and demerits are demerits. Li Sai privately changed the teaching schedule and even proposed a 2-day break for every 5 days. This greatly affected the enthusiasm of the students in the other academies. Your subjects believe that Li Sai is using the excuse of giving the students a break to slack off. Such behavior is indeed unbecoming of teacher. Your subjects are ashamed to work with such a lazy person. Your subjects also believe that the opinion proposed by Li Sai is inappropriate. Since the 3 sovereigns and 5 emperors, Chinese characters have been passed down for more than 1,000 years. From the Shang Dynasty's oracle bone inscriptions to the Qin Dynasty's Xiaozhuan script, the Han Dynasty's Zhenkai script, and the standard handwriting of our dynasty, Zhenkai script. It has gone through dozens of forms, but most of them are derived from hieroglyphics. The pinyin proposed by Li Sai has a strange shape and definitely doesn't originate from the Central Plains. Your subjects believe that the Chinese language is broad and profound. How can it be labeled with symbols from a foreign land? Li Sai's actions are an insult to the ancestors of our country and are destroying the foundation of our great Tang. If we allow pinyin to be popularized, we Confucians will become sinners for all eternity. This subject earnestly requests Your Majesty to immediately stop Li Sai from running amok. In addition, this subject has heard that Li Sai often imparted miscellaneous knowledge to the students, both in and out of class. His Royal Highness, Prince of Wei, has also been poisoned by this. This subject is deeply saddened. The King of Wei is a disciple of the imperial family. If he doesn't bathe in the holy light of the Confucian Tao, why would he learn the unorthodox Tao? Li Sai is trying to shake the foundation of the country. We ask Your Majesty to punish him severely. Such a morally corrupt person simply doesn't have a right to hold the post of Secretary of the Imperial College. I hope that Your Majesty can quickly choose someone more worthy. Otherwise, my great Tang's holy land of talents will quickly become a place of filth and corruption because of Li Sai alone. Your subjects Cui Shanyu, Zhu Qinglu, Sima Minglang, Gu Fengyan, Shangwan Yufeng, Lu Yinyu, Zheng Zhanli, and Sikong Linghao respectfully greet you. I implore Your Majesty to make a decision as soon as possible. Don't tolerate and nurture evil, and return the Imperial College to its former glory. F*CK, your mother. This old thief has gone too far. The more Li Zixuan read, the angrier he got. Cui Shanyu's memorial was simply too infuriating. Li Zixuan's true energy was in a mess from his anger. His long hair was fluttering even though there was no wind. This was caused by the uncontrollable flow of true energy from his body. His eyes were also a little red. After transmigrating for so long, this was the first time he had been angered to such an extent. Cui Shanyu's memorial completely described him as a piece of dog *T, a black sheep, a cultured scum, and a treacherous subject of the country. At this moment, Li Zixuan no longer cared about where he was. He threw the memorial to the ground with all his might and cursed loudly. But he still wasn't done venting his anger. He went up and stomped on it twice more. 233, 3333. When Zhao Song saw Li Zixuan's furious look, he immediately circulated his true energy and secretly raised his guard. Bam! How dare you? You impudent brat! Li Er's eyes widened. He didn't think that there would be someone who dared to swear in front of him, and even stomped on his memorial in front of him. Li Zishuan's guts were really too big. After a while, Li Er reacted. He slammed the table and shouted angrily. When Li Zishuan was reading the memorial, he had been observing Li Zishuan's expression. He knew that Li Zishuan would be very angry after reading this memorial, but he didn't expect him to lose his composure like this. Actually, the appearance of this memorial was also greatly beyond Li Er's expectations. During lunch, he was still telling Zhang Sun about Cui Shanyo's secret opinion of Li Zishuan. That was what Kang Yingda told him, but this secondhand news was still lagging behind. He had just received Cui Shanyo's first move, and Cui Shanyo had already joined forces with 7 other professors to submit a joint memorial. Although Li Er's own position was slightly biased towards Li Zishuan's side, he couldn't ignore this memorial. This was because this was an impeachment case. Cui Shanyo's memorial this time didn't even go through Kang Yingda. He directly sent it to the palace in the form of a secret memorial. In addition, there were too many people involved in this joint impeachment. There were only 15 people in total from the Imperial Academy, the Imperial College, and the 4 great academies, and 8 of them were on this memorial. If it was not handled properly, it would definitely cause a commotion. Your Majesty, please calm down. I was too angry and lost my composure in front of you. Please calm down, Your Majesty. Li Er's shout caused Li Zishuan to quickly come to his senses. He looked around and remembered that he was still in the sweet nectar hall. He quickly went forward and cupped his hands in apology. You're getting bolder and bolder. Ever since I ascended the throne, no one has dared to be so impudent in this palace. Li Er pointed at Li Zishuan and said angrily, Your Majesty, you can't blame me for this. With a bitter face, Li Zishuan explained, Old dog Cui, Professor Chui's memorial is completely distorting the facts. He wants to pull me down from my position so that he can take over the Imperial College. This old dog, this person is sinister and cunning. His intentions are really vicious. He sees that I am talented and knowledgeable in both ancient and modern times. Moreover, I have attracted many students to transfer from the Imperial College to the Institute of Mathematics and Mathematics with my charisma. Therefore, he is jealous of me and intends to use such a despicable method to frame a loyal and good person. He wants to make a talent of Tang, like me, be wrongly imprisoned, so that he can achieve his dirty goal. He doesn't know that Your Majesty is wise and wise. Your eyes can see through all the darkness of time. How can you be fooled by such petty tricks? Therefore, any schemes and machinations will be useless in the face of His Majesty. Shut up. As Li Er listened, he couldn't take it anymore. Li Zishuan could be shameless, but he couldn't be shameless. At this moment, he really wanted to say to Li Zishuan, Will you die if you don't brag? I'll shut up, shut up. Your Majesty, please calm down. Li Zishuan laughed dryly. In fact, he said this on purpose. His previous behavior was, strictly speaking, punishable. After such a farce, Old Li would definitely forget about it. He could also use this time to think about how to refute Cui Shanyo's memorial. Since Li Er called him here in private today and didn't interrogate him in the Imperial Court, it meant that even if Li Er wasn't on his side, he was still taking care of him. In this way, at least he had a chance to defend himself. I'm very smart, right? Li Zishuan thought proudly. Third update. I still managed to finish it before midnight. The temperature difference between the indoor and outdoor is too big. Swordsmen catch a cold. Their noses are stuffed, and their hearts are even more stuffed. Please support me with a genuine subscription. I don't have anything to eat. Chapter 311. Since you say that Cui Shanyu, Lu Yinyu, Zhang Zhanli, Sikong Linghao, and the other professors are slandering you, do you have any evidence? Ganlu Hall. Li Er leaned back and looked at Li Zishuan sternly. Li Zishuan's previous thoughts were indeed correct. Regarding this matter, Li Er indeed had the intention of opening a back door for Li Zishuan. Calling Li Zishuan over for questioning today more or less had the intention of practicing in advance. Your Majesty, This matter doesn't require any evidence. Do you have any evidence for the 3 crimes that Cui Shanyu and the other professors have accused me of? They were just using their own opinions to judge whether I was guilty or not. Could they possibly represent the students of the Imperial College? Can they represent the millions of people of the great Tang Empire? As the saying goes, justice is in the hearts of the people. If they convict me based on their words alone, then I won't accept it. Firstly, Cui Shanyu accused me of implementing a 2-day break system in the School of Mathematics after 5 days of classes. He also thought that I was using the excuse of a break to slack off. I just want to say that it's bullsh**t. All of the above are just his personal conjectures. Did he investigate beforehand? How did he know that I was slacking off? The break system that I set doesn't contain any selfishness. Ever since I took over the School of Mathematics, the students' homework has become increasingly heavy. Coupled with the exam reward and punishment system that I set, the pressure on the students has also increased. If they can't strike a balance between work and rest, their learning efficiency will greatly decrease. Although compared to the other schools, the School of Mathematics usually has a lot more holidays, but this official dares to say that in terms of academic pressure and academic performance, the students of the School of Mathematics definitely won't lose to the other 5 schools. If anyone is unconvinced, they can come out and compete. If they lose, this official is willing to accept this crime. Li Zishuan said heroically, what arrogance! I know that you are proficient in mathematics, but that doesn't mean that the students of the School of Mathematics are also proficient. Why are you so confident? Lier couldn't help but laugh and interrupt. Of course, as the saying goes, great teachers produce great students. Like teachers, like students. I have absolute confidence in my students. Li Zishuan raised his chin and said affirmatively. Lier was speechless. If he could, he really wanted to spit tea all over Li Zishuan's face. How could the saying, great teachers produce great students, be used in such a way? Secondly, regarding pinyin, when pinyin was first introduced, His Majesty, Kong Jijio, and all the important officials in the imperial court unanimously approved it. Why didn't Cui Shanyu and the others jump out to oppose it? This old dog only knows how to bully the weak and fear the strong. Does he think that I'm a pushover? In the Imperial College's actions was the great Tang Empires is the Tang Empires Tang's the foundation empire. Will. If pinyin is successfully popularized, we Confucians will become sinners for all eternity. Thus, Li Zishuan felt a wave of anger rush to his head, and vulgarities involuntarily escaped from his mouth. He had probably used more profanity today than he had in the past 20 years. Speak. If we hear any more obscenities, we will have you thrown out. Lier frowned when he heard this and could not help but scold him. Cough, Your Majesty, please forgive me. Let's continue with pinyin. After interacting with Lier for a long time and grasping his temper, Li Zishuan was no longer as afraid as he was in the beginning. Although Old Li liked to trick people, as long as they didn't commit crimes of principle like treason, Old Li wouldn't chop off people's heads. He wasn't like the Braid Dynasty 1,000 years later, where they often held literary trials and had to be careful with their words. The benefits of pinyin are obvious. It will allow our great Tang to have thousands upon thousands of people who can read and write. It will definitely be a blessing to the poor. This subject believes that Cui Shanyu and the others must have ulterior motives for objecting in such a hurry. They are afraid that once there are more scholars, they will lose their sense of superiority. This subject has every reason to suspect that Cui Shanyu and the others are lackeys sent by the noble clans to obstruct the imperial court's education. I hope that Your Majesty will investigate this. Li Zishuan smiled sinisterly and began to paint Cui Shanyu and the others in the eye in front of Lier. He knew that Lier had the intention to attack the noble clans, so it was a good opportunity to have 2 appetizers. Among the 8 professors who impeached him, there were those with the surname Cui, Liu, and Zheng. He didn't know if these people were related to the 5 surnames and 7 hopes. In any case, even if they weren't related, this young master wanted to be related to them. Who asked you to stab this young master in the back? If I don't take revenge, I'm not human. As expected, Li Er's expression gradually turned serious when he heard this, but he didn't say anything in the end. Li Zixuan was slightly disappointed and could only continue. Regarding Cui Shanyo's words about pinyin being like a foreign language, this subject has something to say. First of all, Cui Shanyo's words have no proof. Since he said that pinyin is a foreign language, then he has to show proof and let everyone see which foreign language pinyin is from. Secondly, so what if pinyin is a foreign language? As long as it can allow more people to become literate and make our great Tang stronger, then it is a useful language. If our great Tang wants to stand at the top of the world, then we must learn to be tolerant. Take the strengths of others and make up for our own shortcomings. Only by being tolerant can we become the strongest great Tang. If my great Tang wishes to stand at the peak of all countries, it must learn to be tolerant, to take the strong points of others and make up for our weak points. Only by being tolerant can the great Tang become the strongest and most prosperous. Li Er's expression froze. He couldn't help but repeat Li Zixuan's words to himself. He asked Li Zixuan to come over today just to hear what Li Zixuan would say about Cui Shanyo's impeachment. He never expected to hear such a warning that made his heart surge with emotion and even made his blood boil. He was really touched. If our great Tang wants to stand at the top of the world, then we didn't expect you to understand such a principle of life. As expected of the disciple of an otherworldly expert, Li Er looked at Li Zixuan and praised with a complicated expression. Nanny, didn't the Tang Dynasty have these two sentences? Li Zixuan was dumbfounded. He thought that these two sentences were some ancient proverb, but from Li Er's words, it didn't seem to be the case. Well, he had unintentionally acted cool in front of old Li again. If our great Tang wants to stand at the top of the world, then we must be tolerant. These 8 words were like a self-encouraging couplet by the national hero Lin Zexu. If our great Tang wants to stand at the top of the world, then we must be tolerant. Your Majesty is too kind. Then let me continue with the third crime of Cui Shanyo's impeachment, miscellaneous studies. The feeling of acting cool was naturally great. Li Zixuan felt as if he was possessed by Zhuge Liang. He was about to engage in a war of words and unleash a wave of AoE damage that ignored all skills. There's no need to say any more. It's enough that you know about Cui Shanyo's impeachment. As for how to deal with it, I have my own plans. Go back and do some self-reflection. Tomorrow morning, there will be a verdict on your matter. Come to the court when the time comes. All right, if there's nothing else, you may leave. Li Er's mind was no longer on this matter. He waved his hand absent-mindedly, as if he was shooing away a fly, telling Li Zixuan to leave quickly. Li Zixuan was speechless. He was in the middle of talking, but old Li was too deceitful. This was like taking off one's pants and telling a girl that her period was here. Then I shall take my leave. Li Zixuan had no choice but to cup his hands and leave. Chapter 3:12. He was impeached for no reason, and he had to attend the morning assembly tomorrow. He was just sitting at home, and trouble came from the sky. F***CK, that old dog Cui. You gone too far, damn. I'm going to kick you to death. Li Zixuan was getting angrier and angrier as he wandered along the streets. He kicked everything he saw. Luckily, there weren't many people around. Otherwise, he wouldn't have felt good. Young master, you're back. San Bao was the first to welcome him when he reached the door. Have you sent Liu over? Li Zixuan nodded and asked casually, replying to young master, it has been delivered. That's good. Li Zixuan waved his hand and was about to return to the house. Suddenly, he stopped in his tracks and waved at San Bao. San Bao, come here. Young master has something to tell you. Hey, young master, please tell me. When San Bao heard this, she hurriedly ran over excitedly and said, You go. Hey, come in, come in. As soon as Li Zixuan opened his mouth, he realized that something was amiss. He hurriedly brought San Bao into the manor. Thus, the servants of the Li residence saw this scene from afar. Their young master was sneakily discussing something with the servants of the manor under the large locust tree in the front courtyard. One of them was babbling nonstop, gesturing with his hands as he spoke. The other had his eyes wide open with a completely dumbfounded expression. Do you understand? Young master, isn't this too wicked? Wicked your head. Do you still want a job? Young master, please calm down. I'll go now. But if someone finds out, I'm afraid it'll be hard to explain to old master. Are you a king pig? I didn't ask you to go personally. Don't you know how to cover your face and secretly hire a few people to help you recruit people? Yes, young master is right. I'll go now. Wait, I haven't paid you yet. Where are you going? You brat, your brain isn't working so well today. Go to Butler Wong and give him 100 strings of coins. If it's not enough, there's more. Young master, why do you need so much? 10 strings of coins is enough. Sin Bao almost knelt down as he said bitterly. What do you know? The more money there is, the bigger the matter will be, and the happier I will be. This young master doesn't lack money. If you do a good job, you will be heavily rewarded. Hurry up and go. Lisa Xuan slapped the back of San Bao's head and said in annoyance. This lackey of his was not good enough. He was too honest and not arrogant enough. It did not suit his status. Yes, young master. I will go immediately. When San Bao saw that his young master was getting impatient, he didn't dare to hesitate any longer. He quickly ran off like a rabbit. He cherished his status as Li Zixuan's #1 lackey very much. Cough, cough. What are you looking at? Get to work. Li Zixuan scolded angrily when he saw the servants and maids in the distance looking at them with gossipy expressions. Immediately, the servants and maids scattered in all directions. The next day, 4:45, 4:15 a.m., some people were still asleep, while others had already woken up. The only people who had woken up so early were the peddlers and the ministers who were rushing to attend the morning court. Thus, from this point of view, the officials of the imperial court had something in common with the common people, and that was that they all needed to wake up early. However, today was a little different. Because the fleet heading south was about to depart in the morning court was pushed back. All officials of the 5th rank and above had to go together to the docks on Murky Island in the eastern suburbs of Chong and to send off the army. Oh, madam, you can buy more meat in the future. We won't have to live such a poor life anymore. Ha! Xingye Fong, in a shabby and narrow courtyard. Cui Shanyu was drinking porridge and eating vegetables as he spoke to the middle-aged woman in linen clothes in dissatisfaction. Master, you're not talking nonsense, right? With your little salary, how can our family afford to buy meat? The woman in linen clothes said with a strange expression. Haha, short-sighted. It won't be long before this old man can return to the family. By then, what can we not have? Cui Shanyu laughed proudly. What? Master, are you telling the truth? The woman in linen clothes raised her voice by an octave. She was extremely excited and even used master. It was obvious that she cared a lot about her family identity. Of course, I can't tell you the specifics now. You'll know after a while. Yes. Come, master, eat more. Madam, I'll go to Murky Island now. Today, His Majesty specially summoned me to attend the morning court, so I may be back later. You can have lunch first. Don't wait for me. Cui Shanyu finished his breakfast happily and was ready to go out. Of course, he didn't mean that the food was delicious, but that he had gained respect from his wife and could finally straighten his back. Okay, master, take care. The woman in linen clothes said quickly. Haha, silly tiger, let's go. To Murky Island. Cui Shanyu waved his hand in high spirits and was ready to go out with a hunchbacked young man. With Cui Shanyu's poor appearance, how could he afford to buy a horse and carriage? That was why he woke up early today, because the journey was long and he had to leave early. Ouch! Cui Shanyu pushed open the shabby courtyard door and took a step out. He almost slipped out of the door. Master, what's wrong with you? The young man named Silly Tiger seemed to have something wrong with his brain. His master was in trouble, but this idiot could still laugh foolishly. He really didn't know how many episodes he could survive. I think I stepped on something soft. Silly Tiger, help me take a look. My eyesight is not very good. Oh, my other foot stepped on something too. Chui Shanyu didn't care about Silly Tiger's untimely laughter. Perhaps he was already used to it. It's just that he moved around like this, and his other foot immediately stepped on something soft. At this moment, the sky was just beginning to brighten. He was old and dizzy, so naturally, he couldn't see anything clearly. He could only ask Silly Tiger for help. Hee, master, I'll help you take a look. Silly Tiger chuckled and quickly ran over. Hurry up and look, what did you step on? Could it be a poisonous snake? Speaking of this, Chui Shanyu immediately broke out in a cold sweat. Even a big man would be afraid of snakes. No, master, you stepped on shit. Hee. Stepped on shit. Shit. Hee, your mother. Chui Shanyu's face was full of Sparta. Even though he was used to Silly Tiger's way of speaking, at this moment, he still felt that the word hee was extremely harsh. Preposterous. Under the feet of the emperor, someone actually dares to pour such filth in front of my door. It's really outrageous. Chui Shanyu was trembling with anger, and his beard was almost sticking up. No one could stand a pile of shit in front of their door. However, what was even more unbearable for him was yet to come. Master, this isn't someone's feces, it's someone's feces. Look, it's still warm. It was still warm. Still. Ugwa. It was no wonder that Chui Shanyu's mental fortitude was weak. The scene was just 2F king strong. Chui Shanyu could no longer hold it in. He ran to the corner of the wall and began to vomit. However, as he ran, he inevitably stepped on a few more piles of feces. Master, what's wrong? I'm not done yet. I can see that this shit is from child. Look, how thin are these strands of feces? Blurg. Shut up. Ugh. Holy shit. I've unknowingly written 700,000 words. Most importantly, I've written so many words, but there's no eunuch at all. This was too rare. Isn't everyone going to subscribe 2 chapters to support me? If very few people read the original version, it's easy for me to get castrated. Piracy was the main reason why there were so many eunuch books. I hope everyone can come and read or support Chidian. Chapter 313. Chui Shanyu awkwardly returned home and changed into a new pair of shoes. He did not even bother to take a shower. He hurriedly held the lantern, bypassed the countless landmines in front of the door, and with a faintly discernible smell of feces, he headed towards Chang and East City Gate. As for where the landmines in front of the door came from, he did not have the time to investigate. He thought that when he came back from the morning court, he would find the people from Wuho government and let them investigate. If I find out who is so wicked, I will definitely teach you a lesson. Chui Shanyu thought bitterly in his heart. Oh, that's great. Now I can have money to buy candy to eat. In the small alley to the west of Chui Shanyu's house, there were actually 40 or so half-grown children gathered. Among them was a big boy with a bare upper body. When he saw that Chui Shanyu and his servant had disappeared, he jumped up excitedly and made a big fuss. Just now old man Chui stepped on my poop. This time Xiao Wu can get an extra 100 coins of reward. A 6 or 7-year-old boy wearing rags and a bun on his head pulled the slightly older boy and asked, Xiao Wu, the sky is so dark. How can you see clearly? The big boy depressingly asked. Of course I can see clearly. If Big Brother Chi Nu doesn't believe me, you can go and take a look. Xiao left a mark beside Zhao's papa. That place is half a step away from the door. Xiao specially chose that place. That old man must have stepped on it. When the little boy called Xiao Wu heard that the big boy did not believe him, he anxiously wanted to pull him closer to check. We will let go. We will wait here for Brother Biao Zi to come. We will talk when he comes. The big boy quickly pulled his hand away. He was not willing to suffer in that stinky minefield. Brother Biao Zi is here. Brother Biao Zi is here. Suddenly, there were 2 surprised voices among the children. Then the crowd automatically separated into 2 sides. A bare-chested, burly man walked over with 2 rascally-looking young men. Hello, Brother Biao Zi. Hello, Brother Biao Zi. More than 40 children bowed and greeted the burly man in unison. It looked as if the burly man was leading a group of children to mingle in a pugilistic world. It was quite comical. Not bad, not bad. I saw from the side just now. You all did well. Biao always keep my word. I won't cheat you of your money. Here, 200 copper coins per person. Let old man Shui step on the doll and give an extra 100 copper coins. Lin Lauer, give out the money. Brother Biao put his hands on his waist and shouted with a rough voice. Yes, boss. One of the lackeys hurriedly replied. Thank you, Brother Biao. Thank you, Brother Biao. When the little brats heard that they were really going to get money, they were so excited that they almost jumped up. Quiet, quiet. Don't provoke others. Biao hurriedly roared and continued. Today, when you go back, all of you save your energy to eat as much as you can for me. If you want to shit, hold it in for me. Tomorrow morning, we will come to Old Man Shui's place to shit again. When the time comes, the price will still be the same. Is everyone clear? Understood. When they heard that they could earn another portion of money tomorrow, the children hurriedly agreed. They only needed to pay a lump of shit, and they could earn a few hundred copper coins. If they did not agree to such a good deal, was there something wrong with their heads? The same thing happened at the other corners of Chang and City at the same time. Zhu Qinglu, Sima Minglang, Gu Fengyin, Shangwan Yufeng, Lu Yinyu, Zheng Zhanli, Xikong Linghao, the 7 director of professors who had submitted a petition to impeach Li Zishuan with Shui Shanyu. Without exception, all of them suffered and glided. The 9 heavens gate opens its palace, and tens of thousands of countries pay their respects to the crown. Chang and City was located on the banks of the Wei River and the northern foot of the Qinling Mountains. In the planning process of Chang and City, the concept of the unity of man and nature was included. There were no rivers in Chang and City. There were only canals that connected the city and the suburbs, as well as man-made or natural ponds, such as the Tsiujiang Pond. Outside of Chang and City, there were 8 rivers: Wei, Jing, Feng, Dubai, Bai, and Bar River. This was what people often called the 8 rivers around Chang, and hence, in terms of transportation, Chang and City was the capital of the empire. Whether it was water or land transportation, it was extremely developed. The Ba River originated from Lantian County, located to the east of Chang and City. On both sides of the Ba Bridge, there were 5 miles of embankment. Tens of thousands of willows were planted, and tourists walked shoulder to shoulder. It was a spectacular sight. Every spring, when the spring wind blew, the willows would dance in the air, creating a hazy mist. It became a major sight on the Ba Bridge of Chang, and there was a pier on the Ba River, as well as a relay station. It was called the Ba Pavilion. Many people would come here to welcome and send off guests, saying their goodbyes and breaking off willow branches as gifts. Li Zishuan had arrived at the Ba River early in the morning. He was speechless at the air. Why did he have to make it such that all officials of the 5th rank and above had to come to the Ba River to send off the army? Wasn't it good to just send those of the 5th rank and above? Li Zishuan felt that he was being targeted. Alas, a good 2-day break had gone down, just like that. Should he suggest to Li Air one day to bring the 2-day break system to the imperial court? After all, the government workers in his previous life also needed to rest on weekends. Haha, I haven't seen you in a long time. Old Cheng didn't look for you. Don't you know how to take the time to greet me? Suddenly, a huge force came from his shoulder. If Li Zishuan's lower body was not stable, he would have been slapped into the river. There was no need to look. Only great demon King Cheng would do such a thing. Uncle Cheng, you're right. I didn't think it through. I'll invite you and Uncle Qin to my residence for a drink some other day. Li Zishuan was quite helpless towards this crazy and disrespectful Cheng Yaojin, so he could only follow his words and say, Hey, there's no need for another day. You're about to get married. When the time comes, Old Cheng, will go to your house for a big meal. Haha, you're not allowed to keep anything to yourself. You had to bring all the good wine and dishes for me. Cheng Yaojin patted Li Zishuan's shoulder and laughed. Jijia, how can you be an elder like this? Qin Xiong couldn't help but frown. Hey, second brother Qin, this kid is also one of us. Why do you need to be polite with him? Now, What's that smell? Why is it so smelly? As Chung Yaojin spoke, he smelled a foul stench. He sniffed his nose and looked around, trying to find the source of the stench. Li Zixuan also smelled it. His eyes were sharp and saw Cui Shanyu, Zhu Qinglu, Sima Minglang, and the rest walking over. He smiled and tugged at Chung Yaojin's sleeve. Then, he held his breath and walked forward with cupped fists. Yo, isn't this Professor Cui, Professor Zhu, and Professor Sima? Good morning to you all. Li Sai, good morning to you too. Cui Shanyu wasn't in a good mood today. He just pretended to cup his fists and greeted them briefly. Then, he didn't want to say anything else. The others didn't even say anything. They just cupped their fists. Li Zixuan didn't seem to care, but in his heart, he was cursing these people for stabbing him in the back. He suddenly pinched his nose and shouted exaggeratedly, "Oh, yeah. Professor Cui, why are you so smelly? Did you eat shit this morning? Did you eat shit this morning? Eat shit? Eat shit?" Li Zixuan's shout was relatively loud. Chung Yaojin was closer and heard it the best. Old Chung widened his eyes in shock. He pinched his nose and pointed at Cui Shanyu and the others. Bah, what a disgrace to the refined. You guys are the ones who are disgracing the refined. You even ate shit. Ugh, it's too smelly. Old Chung, can't take it anymore. Chapter 314. Heavens, there's actually someone eating shit? Ugh, it really smells like shit, ugh. Preposterous. Today is such an important day. Isn't Cui Shanyu purposely causing trouble? Chung Yaojin's voice was even louder. All the civil and military officials who had been waiting for Cui Shanyu's arrival heard it. They all widened their eyes and looked at Cui Shanyu and the others in disbelief. Then they smelled the faintly discernible smell of shit in the air. All the officials nimbly jumped far away, as if they were escaping from the plague. Cui Shanyu and the others immediately formed a circle around them. The commotion here also attracted the attention of the 20,000 Navy soldiers not far away, but because of the strict military rules, they didn't run over to watch the commotion. Even so, they constantly looked over. You, how dare you slander this old man? You. Cui Shanyu saw that everyone was distancing themselves from them with disdain, and even the few officials who were usually on good terms with him weren't willing to come close to him. In the blink of an eye, their reputation of eating shit was about to be confirmed. Cui Shanyu, who always valued his reputation, couldn't help but be ashamed to death. He pointed his trembling right hand at Li Zixuan and angrily cursed. At this moment, he couldn't care less that Li Zixuan was his superior and even used the word scoundrel. My fellow colleagues, please don't listen to the nonsense of others. Why would we, scholars, eat such filthy things? This is all a misunderstanding. Yes, we just accidentally stepped on a child's shit on the road. We definitely wouldn't eat such filthy things. Assistant Minister Huang, you have to believe me. Lu Yinyu hurriedly pulled one of his usual good friends and explained. Ugh, Professor Lu, this one will believe you. Let go first. I'm not feeling well, ugh. Assistant Minister Huang hurriedly broke free from Lu Yinyu's hand and ran to the side to vomit. After all, he had just finished breakfast not long ago. The other doctors had basically fallen into the same situation. No matter how they explained, no one was willing to listen. They all fled in all directions. This was because they were all in the same situation as Assistant Minister Huang, having just finished their breakfast. Who would be willing to deal with such an unappetizing matter? Fang Xianling, Du Ruhui, Zhangsun Wuji, and Wei Zheng. These few civil officials also stood far away and frowned as they looked at the 8 Imperial College professors. Preposterous! How can Cui Shanyu and the others be so ignorant? Wei Zheng said with a face of displeasure. Maybe there's something else. Let's wait for His Majesty to come. Fang Xianling said. Zhangsun Wuji smiled, but didn't say anything. He looked at Li Zixuan, who was far away, with a meaningful gaze. This old man's dozens of years of reputation has actually been destroyed by your hands. This old man. Seeing that his reputation was about to be destroyed in an instant, Chui Shanyo's eyes almost split open, and he couldn't hold it in any longer. He moved his old arms and legs and charged towards Li Zixuan like a madman. Looking at his posture, he wanted to smash Li Zixuan to death. Li Zixuan was shocked and ran around in the crowd pathetically while shouting, "Professor Chui, I'm innocent. This brat has never said that you ate shit. I'm just asking if you ate sh*t." With his skills, even if he stood still and let Chui Shanyu hit him for a year, he would be fine. However, he was afraid that Chui Shanyu would scam him. Seeing that this person was already so old, if something happened to him, wouldn't he be blackmailed for a large sum of medical fees? But, bastard, this old man will not live under the same sky as you. When Chui Shanyu heard Li Zixuan say "eat shit" again and again, and that he was as slippery as a loach and couldn't be caught at all, he couldn't hold it in any longer. He staggered 2 steps and spat out a mouthful of blood. Professor Chui, are you okay? Zhu Qinglu, Sima Minglang, Gu Fengyin, Shengwan Yufeng, Lu Yinyu, Zheng Zhanli, Sikong Linghao, and the rest rushed over to support Chui Shanyu. They had smelled the sh*t smell for so long that they had developed a certain level of immunity. Therefore, no one would despise each other at this moment. Sigh, it's none of my business, okay? Professor Chui, why are you so persistent? Look at how old you are. If others see this, they might say that I'm bullying you. Li Zixuan said with pity. You. Chui Shanyu said, you for a long time. Finally, he couldn't take it anymore. His eyes rolled back, and he fainted completely. Professor Chui, wake up. Professor Chui, wake up. The other 7 director professors instantly lost their backbone. All of them grabbed Chui Shanyo's arm and cried sorrowfully. You, bring a few people and carry him to the Imperial Physician Department. From afar, Zhang Sun Wuji finally couldn't take it anymore. He decided to end this farce. He called a soldier over and ordered. Yes. The silver-armored soldier bowed and received the order. He brought 2 of his subordinates and ran towards the scene. Hey, what's wrong with you today? Did these people offend you somehow? After the scene regained its calm, Cheng Yaojin grabbed Li Zixuan and laughed. I'm innocent. Uncle Cheng, I was just making a wild guess. I didn't expect your reaction to be so big and shout out those words. Li Zixuan definitely couldn't take the blame for this. It would really damage his perfect image of being a righteous person who respected the elderly and loved the young. Thus, he casually threw the blame to Cheng Yaojin. Anyway, this old demon was already full of lice. There were plenty of people who hated him anyway. Smack. Cheng Yaojin was so angry that his beard blew and his eyes widened. He slapped Li Zixuan's head and scolded. T. You were the one who said it. How dare you put the blame on me? You brat, you've grown up. Li Zixuan rubbed his head and muttered to himself. No wonder Cheng Chumo's brain isn't that bright. He must have been beaten up by Cheng Yaojin since he was young. It's been a while since we last met, and Shaoxian has become even more powerful. First, he angered Chui Shanyu until he fainted. Now, he provoked Cheng Jijia. Looks like there's going to be another demon king in Tang Dynasty. At this moment, a middle-aged general in full battle armor walked over with a majestic gait. It was Li Xiaogong. Your Highness, how come you're free now? Although Li Zixuan didn't agree with Li Xiaogong's statement that the Great Tang is about to have another demon king in chaos, he was more surprised that Li Xiaogong still had the time to talk to them at this time. Why wouldn't I be free? Look, the army has been reorganized. The civilian caravans and sailors have also gathered. They're just waiting for His Majesty to come. Why can't I be free? Li Xiaogong pointed at the neat and orderly army in the distance and said casually. Li Zixuan praised. Your Highness is indeed strict in managing the army. It's obvious that this is a tiger wolf army. You really know how to talk. Li Xiaogong smiled proudly. TSK, this little ability is far inferior to me. Old Cheng, didn't you steal it from the pharmacist? Others would give Li Xiaogong some face, but Cheng Yaojin wouldn't. When old Chung heard Li Xiaogong bragging and showing off, he couldn't help but mock him. Cough cough. Ji. Li Xiaogong almost fainted from anger. However, Chung Yaojin wasn't completely wrong. Li Xiaogong's ability to command the army was mostly learned when he fought side by side with Li Jing in the early years. Therefore, he could only glare at Chung Yaojin. Chapter 315. Brat, I've been thinking about it for the past few days and have decided to send my second son to your place. Otherwise, when I go out to sea, no one will take care of him. That brat will be out of control again and cause trouble everywhere. Chung Yaojin, Qin Xiong, and Li Xiaogong were all generals who had fought together on the battlefield. Normally, they would bicker and joke with each other, and none of them would take it to heart. After Li Xiaogong rebuked Chung Yaojin, he suddenly turned to Li Zishuan and said, Li Zishuan was speechless. What is the meaning of this? Have I become the director of a nursery school? Why do all of them like to chase their sons to my side? Did Her Highness mean that you want Huairan to study in the Imperial College? Previously, he had heard from Chung Chumo that Li Xiaogong had a younger son called Li Huairan, who was only 12 or 13 years old. Oh, do as you see fit. You have so many skills. As long as that bastard can learn even a little from you, he won't starve to death when I'm old. Li Xiaogong shook his head and sighed with the vicissitudes of life. Xiaogong, you're only 36 this year. Isn't it too early to think so much? Chung Yaojin pursed his lips and said, It's not early anymore. Huairan isn't young anymore. It's time for him to do something. Your Chonyo has already started studying in the School of Mathematics. My Huairan can't fall behind, right? Li Xiaogong smiled and said, that's just right. After Huairan goes to Shaoxian, my Chonyo will be one step further from the roll of shame. Chung Yaojin was thick-skinned. No one knew where he got his confidence from, but he started to brag. You can't say for sure. Brat, after Huairan follows you, you can discipline him as you wish. As long as you don't beat him to death, you can do whatever you want with him. I won't say a word. Chang'an City was not so big. Li Zishuan had also heard about the calculator school's shame list. He sneered at Chung Yaojin and then turned to tell Li Zishuan. Li Zishuan wanted to refuse, but before he could say anything, Li Xiaogong retorted, Kid, don't even think about refusing. You can teach the Chung family, the Qin family, and the Yuchi family. So why can't you teach my Huairan? It's not like you need to worry about anything. This prince owes you a favor. What else could Li Zishuan do? He cupped his hands and said, Your Highness is too serious. I have never thought of refusing. Hey, you brat. Li Xiaogong chuckled, too lazy to expose him. Big brother, so you're here. At this time, a tall and sturdy man in purple with bronze skin walked over. He was about 20 years old, and behind him was a little girl who looked like a porcelain doll. She was about 3 or 4 years old, at most 4 years old. But just by looking at her now, it was very likely that she would grow up to be a beauty. Yo, Ching Fan, you're here too. Li Xiaogong smiled. Big brother is leading the army out to sea today. Of course, I have to come and send you off. Uncle Chung, who is this person? Li Zishuan quietly tugged at Chung Yaojin's sleeve and asked softly. This is the king of Jiangxia. How come you don't even know him? Chung Yaojin muttered with a strange expression. Li Zishuan was stunned for a moment. He didn't expect that this ordinary-looking man was the king of Jiangxia, Li Daozong. At the mention of Li Daozong, people immediately thought, isn't he the prince who framed Shui Ringgui? But in fact, that was a novel. He didn't frame Shui Ringgui at all. Li Daozong, who had outstanding military achievements, was vilified for 1,000 years for no reason. Li Daozong's courtesy name was Chung Fan. He was Li Er's cousin, and also Li Xiaogong's cousin. He participated in many battles in his life, such as defeating Lu Wuzhou, defeating Wang Shichong, destroying the Eastern Turks, Tuyuan, and conquering Goguryeo. He made outstanding military achievements for the unification and expansion of the Tang Dynasty. In his later years, Li Er evaluated Li Daozong as a famous general on the same level as Li Ji and Shui Wanche. During the period of Wuda Jinjin Temple, only Li Shaogong and Li Daozong were in the imperial family. Li Daozong's great contributions could be seen from this. As for why he wasn't listed in the Lingyan Pavilion in the end, no one knew. Since this person was Li Daozong, then the identity of the little girl behind him was obvious. Wasn't she the famous princess Wensheng, Li Shuyan? Li Zixuan looked at the quiet little girl who was only as tall as his knee and didn't know whether to laugh or cry. This was because when he had just transmigrated, he more or less had some thoughts about the famous beauties of the Tang Dynasty. Princess Wensheng, who had left a thick mark in the history of the Tang Dynasty, was naturally among them. But now, what was there to think about? Hey, Shuyan, come and let Grandpa Cheng hug you. Old Cheng ignored Li Zixuan, who was in a daze. He squatted down and opened his arms to Li Shuyan as he chuckled. Hello, Grandpa Cheng. The little girl obviously knew Cheng Yaojin. Seeing this, she ran over with small steps. Hey, I haven't seen you for a few days. Our little Shuyan has become prettier? Cheng Yaojin picked up the little girl and coaxed her with a smile. You old man, you're clearly an uncle. How are you a grandfather? Shuyan, come here, come to uncle. Li Shaogong, who was talking to Li Daozong, suddenly had a dark expression on his face as he shouted angrily at Cheng Yaojin. He had to be angry. Cheng Yaojin was too shameless. He wanted to be older than him for no reason. Haha, this is what Shuyan usually calls me. It's not like I instigated her. Cheng Yaojin laughed proudly as he hugged little Shuyan. First of all, he was 2 years older than Li Shaogong and 11 years older than Li Daozong. Moreover, old Cheng always liked to grow a large beard on his chin and cheeks, which made him look even older. Therefore, when Li Shuyan first learned to speak, she often called Cheng Yaojin Grandpa Cheng. Now, she couldn't change it. Oomph. I think you're the one who instigated her. At the mention of this, Li Shaogong was a little flustered and exasperated. Li Daozong was also a little annoyed. However, in front of these old generals, he was indeed a little too inexperienced and couldn't say anything. Haha, Lunatic Cheng is still as shameless as ever. At this moment, Yuqi Jingda and Niu Jinda arrived. Together with Li Ji, Duan Jishuan, Lu Hongji, Chai Xiao, Ho Junji, and Li Jing, all of the upper echelons of Great Tang were here, paying respects to Uncle Yuqi and Uncle Niu. Li Zixuan stepped forward and greeted the two of them with a smile. After all, he was a junior. Bullshit, you're the one who's shameless. Look at how thick your skin is. Hee, little Shuyan, isn't Grandpa Cheng right? It was as though Cheng Yaojin and Yuqi Jingda were enemies in their previous lives. The moment they saw each other, they started bickering. Pooey, Lunatic Cheng, do you want to fight again? Huh, do you think I'm afraid of you? But not today. Old Cheng, will fight you for 300 rounds another day. Cheng Yaojin retorted as he played with little Shuyan. His Majesty has arrived. At this moment, a sharp voice sounded, following which, a series of orderly and powerful footsteps could be heard. The noisy civil and military officials, as well as the commoners who were sending their loved ones off, quickly quietened down. Li Zixuan thought, the main show is finally here. Chapter 316. Hearing that Li Er had arrived, Li Shaogong hurriedly ordered a guard to bring Li Shuyan to the carriages outside. That was where the family of the Junwang manor was. The Junwang consort had also come to send them off. After giving his orders, he hurried back to the front of the army to wait for Li Er's arrival. Today, Li Er did not ride the imperial chariot, nor did he muster a large force. He rode a strong black horse and wore the Mingguang armor. He only brought a few dozen guards and eunuchs with him. Of course, as the heir to the throne, Li Chengxian also came. Greetings, Your Majesty. Greetings, Your Majesty. Greetings, Your Majesty. After Li Er stood on the temporary inspection platform, the civil and military officials, as well as the 20,000 Navy soldiers, were the first to bow and kowtow. Then, the merchants and commoners behind them, followed by the commoners who were sending the bride off. All of them faced Li Er and bowed. Their voices shook the heavens, each wave louder than the last. At this moment, the world shook. Countless people knelt on the empty ground and around the Ba River. Other than Lier, no one else stood with their heads held high. There were no three cries of "Long live." When meeting the emperor, the three cries of "Long live" were first passed down from Wu Zetian's coronation, nor were there any kneeling. In the Tang Dynasty, kneeling was not practiced. Unless it was a large-scale sacrifice to the heavens, one would not kneel when meeting the emperor. But Li Zishuan, who was present, was still shaken by these mighty cries. "Rise!" Lier was dazed. How long had it been since he had heard the mighty cries of the soldiers in front of the battlefield? How nostalgic! After a moment, he came to his senses and shouted, "His Majesty has decreed that everyone rise. His Majesty has decreed that everyone rise." Naturally, there were eunuchs below who passed on Lier's words. "Thank you, Your Majesty. Thank you, Your Majesty." Tens of thousands of people stood up and then stood ramrod straight by the Ba River. "Sovereign of the heavenly Tao, Sovereign of the heavenly Tao, let the sun and moon remain the same. Soldiers, today you will set sail. Unlike the usual battles on the battlefield, you will face countless unknown dangers on the vast sea. You are all good men of my great Tang, and we hope that in 3 months you will all return alive. Of course, once outside the borders of the Great Tang, as soldiers of the Great Tang, you must ensure the safety of the people of the Great Tang traveling with the fleet. The people of the Great Tang are not to be bullied anywhere. If they encounter an enemy, they must be exterminated with all their strength. Did you all hear that?" Lier roared. "If you encounter any invading enemies, do your best to destroy them. If you encounter any invading enemies, do your best to destroy them. If you encounter any invading enemies, do your best to destroy them." Hearing this, the soldiers of the 3 armies roared in unison. The glory of the Tang, the glory of the soldiers, was a glory that they had always defended with their lives. Even without Lier's words, they would have done so. "Long live His Majesty! Long live His Majesty! Long live His Majesty!" Even though the custom of shouting "Long live His Majesty" 3 times was not yet popular, at this moment, many merchants, peasants, and common people were moved to tears by Lier's words of love for the people, as if they were his own children. An elderly man spontaneously shouted, "Long live His Majesty," and the others excitedly followed suit. In a few moments, the entire murky plain was filled with cries of "Long live His Majesty." Those who had experienced the turmoil of the world all knew how fortunate it was to have a wise ruler ruling the country. They truly hoped that Lier could live to 10,000 years old. Li Zishuan was infected by this enthusiastic scene, his heart surging with emotion. He couldn't help but follow the crowd and shout, "Long live His Majesty." He thought to himself, whether or not Lier was putting on a show, old Li's charisma was truly strong. With just a few words, he was able to stir the soldiers until their blood was boiling. Li Zishuan felt that he could not achieve this ability to inspire the hearts of the people. Lier took in a deep breath. Of course, he was not putting on a show. He was just saying what he wanted to say. This scene was completely outside of his expectations. "Where is Li Shaogong, director of the Nanyang army?" After the cheers dissipated, Lier looked at the orderly soldiers below and roared. For this expedition, Li Shaogong had been given the title of director of the Nanyang army. He was fully in charge of the 20,000 navy and tens of thousands of peasants. "This general is here." Li Shaogong strode forward and cupped his fists. "Are the soldiers of the 3 armies ready?" "Your Majesty, the soldiers of the 3 armies can set off at any time," Li Shaogong said loudly. "Good. Sacrifice. Set off. We wish you all a triumphant return." Lier pulled out the long sword at his waist and pointed it at the blue sky as he roared majestically. "Yes." Li Shaogong waved his hand, and 2 soldiers ran up to slaughter the cattle and sheep that had been prepared long ago. They began the last ceremony before the expedition. Of course, the Tang cherished cattle. The cow on the field was an old one that was about to die. Ever since the Western Zhou Dynasty, whenever an army was mobilized, They would hold a large-scale sacrificial ceremony. They would slaughter cattle and sheep to sacrifice to their ancestors and the gods of the land and grain. All the soldiers would line up, and the slaughtered cattle and sheep would circle the left and right of the formation. They would be called martyrs and announce that those who do not need to live will be killed. The commander would personally pour the blood of the animals on the weapons and call it provocation. He would symbolically pour some of the blood on the flags, drums, gold, and weapons used in battle. The strange thing was that the chariots that had been drenched in the blood had to be placed back in the warehouse to be preserved. After the sacrificial ceremony, the cattle and sheep would be cooked and distributed to the soldiers. This time, the fleet was originally going to trade with a small country in Nanyang, but the entire imperial court was preparing for this southern operation as a war. The necessary departure ceremony had to be carried out, and the soldiers' armor and weapons were also the best. The reason for this was because Li Zishuan had played a huge role in it. He had told Li Shaogong about the sailing matters, including guarding against pirates and natives, and Li Shaogong repeated them to Li Er. Li Er felt that it made sense, so he gathered Feng Xianling, Du Ruhui, Zhang Sun Wuji, Li Jing, and the other important officials to discuss. These big shots were all far-sighted people. If Li Zishuan could see it clearly, how could they not see it clearly? Thus, they all seconded the proposal. Just like that, this huge fleet with sharp fangs gradually took shape. Today, they would set sail and enter Nanyang. The ceremony is complete. Set off. Around an hour later, the sacrificial ceremony was finally completed. Every soldier was symbolically given a piece of meat. After Li Shaogong asked Li Er for instructions, he roared and ordered the army to set off. Walala! The soldiers, merchants, and farmers followed a rehearsed formation and boarded the ships in an orderly manner. The people who were sending off their loved ones all burst into an uproar. Everyone was shouting the names of their loved ones. Father, mother, and I will wait for you to come back. In front of the crowd, Meng Wenhao's nose twitched. He held back his tears and waved at the fleet. However, his voice was quickly drowned out by the waves of cheers. Chapter 317. After half an hour, all the soldiers, merchants, and commoners had boarded the ships. Thousands of large merchant ships occupied the entire Ba River. It was a vast expanse of boundless expanse. It was very majestic. Dong, 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 dong. On the shore, two strong men began to beat the battle drums. The drum beats became faster and faster, as if every beat was beating on people's hearts. When the soldiers on the ships heard the drum beats, they began to wave their flags. All the merchant ships immediately hung up their sails and set sail. For a moment, the sails covered the sky. Along with the battle drums, the people on the shore inexplicably felt a sense of majesty and desolation. Some old people and women silently put their hands together and prayed that their loved ones would return safely. Sigh, I hope that you will all be safe. I have tried my best. Although he knew that there would be sacrifices at the beginning of every great era, Li Zishuan still hoped that no one would die. The plan to trade grain in the south was proposed by him. If many harmonious and happy families were broken because of this, he would feel uneasy. However, there were always gains and losses. This sea trade trip would definitely produce results that would shock everyone. In the next year's locust plague, many people would starve to death because of it. For the first time, the Tang Empire extended its claws and fangs overseas. Perhaps it would start a mighty era of great voyages. Fortunately, I have transmigrated to the Tang Dynasty. In this era, the emperor was wise and the ministers were virtuous. The whole country had a keen and progressive spirit, so it would be easier to facilitate the ocean voyages. However, if I had transmigrated to the Ming Dynasty, I would have to find a way to break through the sea-ban policy. In the process, I would inevitably have to fight with some people who already benefited from it. Li Zishuan silently rejoiced that he had transmigrated to this open and high-spirited era. Otherwise, if he, who had no political experience, had a fight with a group of old foxes in the officialdom. Wouldn't he be done for? Why don't I see Chui Shanyu? Didn't I ask him to come to the morning court today? After the departure ceremony, Li Er brought the civil and military officials back to the palace and started the morning court session. After an hour, there were no more ministers who had anything to report. At this moment, Li Er glanced at Zhu Qinglu, Lu Yinyu, Zheng Zhangli, and the others. He suddenly remembered that Chui Shanyu had submitted a secret memorial to impeach Li Zishuan yesterday. Hence, he asked softly, "What's the matter?" Li Zishuan had woken up too early in the morning and was dozing off with his back leaning against a huge wooden pillar. When he heard Li Er's question, his spirit was roused, and he woke up. He thought to himself that the good show had finally begun. He just didn't know if these people could still sue without Chui Shanyu. Your Majesty, Professor Chui vomited blood and fainted after being angered by Li Sai. He is now being treated by the Imperial Physician Department. Your Majesty, please uphold justice for Professor Chui. Lu Yinyu cried out in grief and walked to the front of the officials. He said with some sadness. What was funny was that wherever he passed, everyone was smelled and took 2 steps back. Li Er saw it clearly from above and was puzzled. Suddenly, a foul smell hit him in the face. Li Er quickly covered his nose and said unhappily, "What did Minister Lu eat this morning? Why is it so smelly?" Ugh! Lu Yinyu, who was playing the sympathy card in front of Li Er, suddenly felt his mind go blank when he heard this. He thought of what had happened since this morning and couldn't help but feel sad. He felt that the whole world was full of malice. Your Majesty, this old minister went out this morning and accidentally stepped on a child's feces. In order to participate in the departure ceremony, this old minister only washed it hastily. This caused a breach of etiquette in front of you. Your Majesty, please forgive me. After being stunned for a while, Lu Yinyu could only admit defeat and beg for forgiveness with a bitter face. "Oh, forget it. Considering your loyalty, I won't pursue the matter." Although Li Er was unhappy, he couldn't punish someone for such a small matter. He waved his hand and said magnanimously, "Thank you, Your Majesty. You said that Chui Shanyu was angered by Li Zishuan to vomit blood. What happened? Quickly tell me." Li Er looked indifferently at Li Zishuan, who was leaning on the coiling dragon pillar, and asked indifferently. He was a little annoyed and secretly blamed Li Zishuan for causing trouble for no reason. "Your Majesty, today on Murky Island, Li Sai slandered us for eating feces. Everyone knows about it. Professor Chui has always valued his reputation. How could he accept such an insult? He was so depressed that he vomited 3 liters of blood and fainted from anger." Lu Yinyu was so moved that tears almost flowed out. After dawdling for so long, Li Er finally asked the main question. Thus, he stepped forward excitedly and bent down to complain to Li Er. However, this almost suffocated Li Er to death. Li Zishuan, who was behind him, widened his eyes and secretly scolded Lu Yinyu for being so shameless. What did he mean by vomiting 3 liters of blood? Why don't you King try vomiting 3 liters of blood? Let's see if he can still live. As expected, a scholar didn't use a knife to kill people. He only relied on his mouth. "Your Majesty, I'm innocent." This humble subject smelled a stench when Dr. Chui spoke this morning. "I only asked him if he ate shit in the morning." This humble subject definitely did not announce to outsiders that he ate shit. This humble subject can testify to this point, both civil and military officials present. Instead of waiting to be wronged, it was better to take the initiative to explain. In any case, Li Zishuan could not be blamed for what happened this morning. If there was anyone to blame, it was old man Chui who stabbed him in the back. Moreover, his psychological endurance was too weak. "Your Majesty, this old subject can testify." Li Sai's words are true. Cheng Yaojin immediately stood up and supported Li Zishuan. On the way to the palace, Li Zishuan had already told Cheng Yaojin and the others about his impeachment by Chui Shanyu and the others. Of course, old Cheng would stand on Li Zishuan's side. Moreover, He had also played a part in making Cui Shanyu faint in the morning. Hearing Li Zixuan and Cheng Yaojin's words, Li Er nodded indifferently. He looked at Lu Yinyu and asked, Minister Lu, is what Li Sai said true? This, Lu Yinyu was dumbfounded. If he objected again, he would be lying to the emperor. After all, there were many people present at that time, and they were all on good terms with Li Zixuan. Your Majesty, although what Li Sai said is true, Professor Cui fainted from anger because of Li Sai. Moreover, when we went out today, we found a large amount of children's feces at our doorsteps. This subject believes that this might have something to do with Li Sai. At this moment, another feces man stepped out from the crowd and cupped his hands at Li Er. It was Zheng Zhanli, the doctor of the Four Gates Academy. Oh, there's such a thing? Li Zixuan, did you do this? A glint flashed across Li Er's eyes as he looked at Li Zixuan and asked. In fact, he guessed that this immoral thing was most likely done by Li Zixuan. After all, he had just shown the impeachment of Cui Shanyu and the others to Li Zixuan yesterday. This brat is really vengeful. Li Er scolded in his heart. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.